All right, let's bow our heads for a prayer, and then we get to learn about our daily dose of vitamin C. All right. Father in heaven, we're so thankful that we have this opportunity to learn, to grow, to be reminded, to be inspired. And again, I just want to keep praying, Lord, that you'd help us not just to understand in our minds, but to have the strength and the courage to practice when it's toughest and to apply what we're learning. In Jesus' name, we want to pray. Amen.
Well, we're all fed up with physical food.
Fed up with us speaking, probably. Sue.
Yeah, Bob. Yeah, so we're going to move on to some emotional food this afternoon and really get into some of the principles that make relationships work. We've really diagnosed and we've talked about, some of the antidotes for the character traits that we've kind of created as habits in our life. So now we're going to talk about a little bit of how to create connection. So really, connecting should be our daily vitamin C, shouldn't it? It's something that we do daily and we take time for. So when we do this, the goal is not just to connect, and be in the same room. The goal is to have a heart connection when we're connecting. So that's making each other really feel like we know them. It's making them feel like we love them and that we're here for them. Have you ever experienced a relationship like that? It's somebody is going to have your back. You can count on them. You know that they indefinitely love you. And you feel that they really know you, they're into you. It's quite an amazing thing. And when parents and children have this kind of relationship, it creates such a secure attachment. A lot of kids grow up with this anxious attachment. They feel like they have to do things to please their parents to get their love. It's just an anxious attachment, or they have to behave a certain way. But rather creating this secure attachment where they know no matter what they do, your relationship with them is solid. And they know that they're there for you, that they for them, and that you love them and you know their heart so well.
Pastor Royce do we have the handouts do we have the Sound Relationship House for this afternoon?
Oh, yes.
If you could hand those out, and there might be a love map game we're going to play.
Might want to bring all of them just up on the front here.
Yeah, if you bring them all forward, then we can hand out. If we can hand out the Sound Relationship House specifically, we're going to go through this. We're going to now move into kind of dealing with the detox and the negative communication styles. We've been detoxing, and then that cleansing with forgiveness. Now we're going to move into building the relationship. Now restoring the healthy stuff. What do we do that is going to restore and build that friendship again if we're starting out the foundation? And Gottman there's the Sound Relationship House that we're going to hand out right now. We'll go over that quickly. If we can have one too, and then we'll review it as you get it. And this is what we're going to be talking about for the rest of the day, is going to be using this Sound Relationship House as part of the Gottman theory that we're going to be reviewing. And the first 3 levels of the house that you're going to get is all about friendship. Because the relationship is about friendship. It's developing that deep friendship. And our friendship just kind of grew naturally. But once you've been married for a while, sometimes it's not so natural to be friends. Or we're kind of frenemies now. And we kind of like each other and kind of don't like each other.
Parent-child, right? You've been together for a long time. And maybe it's not so friendly of a relationship anymore.
So a couple more people still needed to get it. So we talked a little bit about, I think we referred to this maybe a little bit last night. On the very top it says, John Gottman, Dr. Gottman and Julie Gottman put this together, the Sound Relationship House, based on 7 principles of making marriage work, which we went down to Seattle and trained because we love the theory because it just excuse me, blended so well with Scripture. And his research showed that these 7 principles are how to make marriage work with the walls, trust and commitment on the outside. And my wife can talk about trust and commitment. We'll go through this a little bit.
Yeah, so those sidewalls of trust and commitment, many relationships have those walls. So there were some couples that we started coaching with this week, and we were going over their relationship checkup and assessment, and the one gentleman said, you know what, I've got trust and commitment down pat.
That's the most important thing.
And
That holds the house up, right?
That's the important thing. But the wife said, yeah, but what about all the floors of the house? Like, that's super important to me. And she said, but what if all the floors are rotten? Your house is still going to cave in if your sidewalls are strong. And he was like, okay, because he thought with the sidewall strong, right, everything would be good. So then he drew a different perspective during that session. He's like, okay, I'm hearing to you. So talking to his wife that this is important to you, this is important to me, how can we make this blend? Because it's important. The walls, the floors of the house from the bottom up are so important.
Yeah, and to me, it was trust and commitment were the main things. I was committed to staying in the marriage for better, for worse, and all those kind of things. And the trust, but what happened, but I wasn't concentrating on building the inside of the house. So our house was empty. And there was no...
Pretty lonely.
Pretty lonely.
Yes.
So the first, on the inside, the first level of the house, which is the foundation of friendship, is to build love maps.
Yes. So if you can just advance there, we call this knowing each other's world. So the first floor of the house, building love maps. So what is friendship? So friendship is showing interest in each other's world.
Learning about each other's preferences, opinions.
Mm-hmm. It's treating each other with respect.
Showing up for each other each day.
Yeah. Having each other's back.
Laughing and playing together. Really? Did you put that in?
I
Laughing
did.
and playing together. Is that part of friendship?
It sure is.
You know what happens with most couples after a few years? Guess what happens? That one disappears. We don't have any fun anymore. We have any recreation. We have no fun. We don't laugh together. We don't play together. The Bible talks about being a helpmate, right? Being a helpmate. So, we're here to help each other. We're just to help me. But God also created it for connection and for relationship, to have fun together. And as little kids, we'd always say, we had playmates, right? Oh, we play with Johnny. We have a playmate. But then we now become workmates, right? So we've gone back to being playmates, and it's much more fun. I know the world has that we use that term in a negative way, but we still use it as hey, you know what? We want to be playful and have fun and experience that laughing. And when we started restoring our relationship, the first thing we had to do is, I had to choose, and I read something from Mort Fertel of Marriage Fitness, which really stuck out to me. We learned last night, 69% of our problems are unresolvable, but we spend 99% of our time talking about the problems and trying to resolve them, which drives to insanity because we're just trying to solve the problems that are unresolvable, and we go in this cycle of not really being able to resolve it, so we just get frustrated. But one of the things I learned is that we had to put the problems aside. We had to make a commitment. You know what? I choose not to focus on the problems. I choose to focus on building friendship, starting to have fun again, starting to play together. And we started we hadn't had dates for a long time, so we started dating each other and just going out fun and not talking about, and on the date, we stopped talking about the problems because that only created the division, and the disconnection even was greater.
So on the dates, if you can remember this, forgot to include a slide. It's called the Gottman card deck. And there's one called Love Maps, open-ended questions, and just connecting questions that you can take turns so we might ask a question. And we're going to practice this in the Love Maps because it helps. Knowing each other's world shows that you're interested in them, you're into them.
I'm curious about what you're interested in. I'm just, we're curious. When we're dating, I'm asking her hundreds of questions, and I want to know what her favorite color is. I don't know I'm just asking all these things. But when we start getting married for a while, we stop asking those curious questions. We lose interest because we think we know everything. We talk to people, well, I know my wife, I know my husband. Then we start asking the questions, and they really don't know each other, but they think they know each other, right? Because love maps change how often?
Every 3 months, or every time you're exposed to a new experience, like new food, maybe a new vacation, or a new book, or I don't know, a TV show, something like that. So it influences them. And some people, like we just did a True Love program for young adults just before Christmas. And one of the questions was, what do I do when I go on a date with someone and it's just silent? I have to carry the conversation. I said, well, that's, is that a red flag? And what do you think? Do you think that would be a red flag? If building love maps, the whole purpose is to know someone's world, I would suggest it could be. Maybe they're shy, give them a chance, have a few interactions with them, go do fun things. But if that person, and you're a young person wanting to date someone, and that person that you're dating is not interested in you, not asking you questions about yourself, it gives you the impression they don't really want to know you, doesn't it?
So I think
that can happen in our marriages.
Yeah. So I'm going to share with the men how important it is to build a love map of your wife. Because men sometimes don't think we need maps. We just think we can just drive and we're going to find it where we're going, right? But trust me, we need a map of our wife. So this is the importance. So for 24 years, I thought the flower of choice for anniversaries or for Valentine's Day was red roses. That's what they market, right? Red roses. That's the flower of choice. That's what you give on anniversaries. That's what you give on. It's a perfect red rose. And for 24 years, I didn't ask her what her favorite flower was. I didn't know. I assumed because that's what marketing and because of the pricing.
I would sometimes get roses twice a year on Valentine's Day as well.
Yeah, whether I loved you or not, I still give you, right? I still brought roses because that's what we're trained.
You did
to
for a
do.
time,
Yeah.
yes, and then it stopped, and I wonder why.
So finally, when we had this love mapping, we started asking each other questions. Honey, can you tell me what is your favorite flower? I've never asked you that question. Can you tell me what your favorite flower is?
Oh, I sure can. I love Gerber daisies.
A Gerber daisy? What is that?
Yes. Well, it's a beautiful big flower with a big center and a nice thick stem.
What's your favorite color?
All colors. They come in all different colors. Okay. I love any color.
Any color.
Yes.
So what is it about Gerber daisies that you love so much?
Just they look strong and sturdy, but beautiful at the same time.
Oh, kind of like you. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that's great. So what do you think I started doing in our anniversaries, her gift, if I want to bring her flowers? What kind of flower do you think I started bring her? Gerber daisy. Why would I bring her Gerber daisy? Because now I know her love map, right? I know what speaks her love language. So she liked the roses, but Gerber daisy is like, wow, she got excited. Didn't matter what color. So I started bringing her Gerber daisies. And this is men, if you're sleeping, this is the part you wake up, because I want you to hear. This is the part that really is powerful, knowing your wife's love map, is because this is what I learned. On Valentine's Day, do you know they jack the prices of roses up? It's like, they're like, what, $50-$60 for a dozen roses? It's crazy. Do you know how much Gerber daisies are? They're like $10. So you know what? It's a win-win. I save money. She gets her favorite flower. So all these years I wasted all that money on roses, and I could have been giving her Gerber daisies. So that's the importance of love maps.
There are some advantages. Yes. So love maps, they are so important because it's about knowing each other's world. We may think, when couples do their assessment, a lot of times the love maps will come back green. But we discover throughout our sessions together that really it should have been red, an area for growth, because they really did not know an updated love map. They're still living in the past with the old love map and not the current one. And then you'll hear the wife say, you don't know how many times I've told you that. Why don't you just pay attention, right? So do we pay attention to what each other are saying and file away that little piece of information as, okay, I'm going to update my spouse's love map. I'm going to update my child's love map. We pay usually much more attention to our child's love map than we do our spouse's.
So
Would you agree?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We're going to play a love map game now. This is where you get to have a chance to do a little interaction here. So this sheet we just handed out, it's the love map game. We're just going to do a demo, and we're going to get you, let's just do one this afternoon, but then we take this home and ask, there's a lot of questions here. Now, you can take time to ask all these questions, and just to create, sometimes we don't remember what questions to ask, what we don't know. So it's just a nice handy list to start to ask questions.
Yeah, so for this game, you just randomly decide on a number, between 1 and 60, because there's 60 questions. Write the number down or just keep it in your head. And then you're going to go through and pick that number that you chose, and then you're going to ask the question. So I'm going to ask the question, Marlon, he's going to answer it, and then he's going to ask the same question to me. That's how we would do it. So
what not to do is...
Is there a way not to do it?
Yes. So if you were to ask me who my favorite friend was.
Oh, yeah. I haven't really... we've been so busy, and unfortunately, we don't hang out with our friends nearly as much as we used to.
Yes.
Which, we need to change that. But I have been wondering, who is your best friend? Because I don't know anymore. I'm thinking of 3 different people, and...
Right. No, Jacob is.
Jacob?
Yeah, Jacob.
Why Jacob? Have you seen how he treats his wife?
What do you mean? He's a good guy.
Okay.
He treats his wife.
I don't see that, but...
Anyways, that's what not to do. Sometimes we try to evaluate or criticize or, we want to just learn and be curious and ask the question and just listen and not make judgments or evaluations.
Yes, judgments and evaluations, or telling them they're wrong, right? No. Who is? Let's do a redo.
Oh, please.
Honey, I've been thinking about it lately, and I'm not sure who in your world of your friends is your best friend right now.
Jacob.
Jacob?
Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't expecting you to say Jacob, but I'm curious to know, what it is about Jacob that he's your best friend.
Oh, I just can be real with him. We can have conversations. I don't feel like he's going to be critical, or I just share with anything, and he never judges me. We just have a real, and he shares from his heart. I guess we can have a heart-to-heart conversation without feeling like I'm having to pretend I'm being somebody else. I mean, it can be real.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. I can see that's very valuable for a friendship. I didn't realize you guys had that kind of conversation going on. I'd kind of like to be a fly on the wall next time.
Anyways, again, it's just being curious, asking the questions, learning, seek to understand, then be understood. So the idea is just to get to know. So you have the opportunity now
to ask open-ended questions. So just to go back, I'm going to back up here, rewind for a minute. So when you're asking questions, we can ask closed-ended questions and open-ended questions. So to really uncover someone's love map, we're going to ask open-ended questions. So
if we ask a closed-ended question, then we need to follow up with an open, as long as we're learning, right?
So is Jacob your best friend?
Yes.
Closed-ended question. So
End
we
of
could
story.
just
End
leave
of
it there, and I'd go, okay. Or if I do ask a closed-ended question, and I go, okay, that's not giving me much information. So tell me what it is about Jacob that makes him your best friend. So that would be an open-ended question. You can't answer it yes or no.
Just really know everything that you can about that
and
topic.
keep
so really
asking open question after open question. So he asked me what kind of flower. Then he asked me what color. And then he asked me what it was about a Gerber daisy that I liked. So he asked 3 follow-up questions just about a flower. So that's the whole idea, is to open up your spouse's world, to understand more about them by asking question after question.
So here's a question we want you to do right now. What's a dream you have for the future that maybe you've never shared with the person? So go ahead, share, take a minute for each of you to share a favorite dream, and the other person, one's going to be a speaker and one's going to be a listener. So take turns asking the person, what's your favorite dream? And then the other person respond, and then keep on asking follow-up questions. Well,
so
what is it about that dream? Or what do you want to go with this? Or what? So just to understand it a little bit better, see if you can create better understanding of what that dream is. And what is it? Why? So take a few minutes and just make sure you take maybe 2 minutes sharing your dream and then asking the other person what their dream is, and then asking a bunch of follow-up open questions to really understand it. And then we're going to ask you to share what that dream is. Okay, go ahead. All right. So, who's willing to share what they learned about somebody, about one of their dreams that you didn't know, or that you learned more about it? And don't be bashful. Don't pretend that we're not looking at you or talking. So, who would like to share? Come on. Somebody share with what their conversation and what they learned about their partner's dream or somebody else's dream. I'll start. Let's not pick on people.
Did you learn something new? Maybe share something if you learned something new in that conversation.
How many know everything about their spouse? I think I do, yeah. We actually we did the exercise with our daughter. And you know what I learned what her current most favorite dream is? To go on a Bill Gaither cruise in the Caribbean. That's her number one dream right now. And when we repaired our marriage back 11 years ago, because you know I talked about I didn't like traveling, had a fear of travel, I booked a Caribbean cruise with a gospel cruise, and there was some of our favorite, I guess, gospel singers that were on that cruise. It was a 7-day cruise. So it was one of the highlights of repairing our relationship, traveling together and having fun.
As a family, we brought our kids with us.
So she remembers that. So now she's like, this would be my dream. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is her dream. Now she's an adult making her own money, and now she's planning how to take time out.
And take her parents with her.
Yes. Isn't that great when your kids
now that she's a
still
massage
adult
therapist.
kids want to spend time? Yeah, now she's a massage therapist. She's making her own way, and she can afford it, and we can do vacations where she can pay her own way now.
All right, so then we're going to move on to the next level of the house. And if you're looking at it, it's share fondness and admiration, showing appreciation and thankfulness to each other. And sometimes, so this is the second level of the house, that we build love maps and rebuild the family, getting curious, getting to know each other. That next step is to expressing fondness and admiration, which usually that kind of floor starts to get a little bit shaky.
It does, and it's the antidote for what did we learn earlier? For contempt, right? Mm-hmm. So we get critical, judgmental, a little bit contemptuous because we're thinking all these negative thoughts. So showing appreciation, doing a 360 and starting to show appreciation instead is so important. You know, when we lose our friendship, we don't want to know about each other's love maps anymore, do we? So it's so important to start from the ground up and get to know each other, know what your dreams are at the moment, know what your struggles are at the moment, maybe know where you need to, as aid, help to your spouse, and so on. So really figure that out. And then sharing fondness and admiration for what they do, right? You're trying to repair and restore if you're at that point, or maybe just maintaining a relationship. And fondness and admiration is really, really key for maintaining a happy, healthy relationship. How many of you know, have you heard of the 5 love languages by, is it Gary Chapman? That works. So we had our kids do the online quiz, we did ours, and I started loving, when we're repairing with our children, loving them according to their love language, and we continue to try to do that. So it's a real game changer. So it's showing appreciation to them when we are loving them how they need to be loved. Not often we love how we need to be loved, and it doesn't work so well unless you have the same love language. Which, do any of you have the same love language? Oh, that makes it so much easier, doesn't it? But marriage is to make us holy. Maybe not so happy all the time, but I don't know, or is it happy? Let's work on making it happy. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So how do you share fondness and admiration? Because it's such a crucial element. Do you share it verbally, non-verbally? Share with me how you share appreciation, if you wouldn't mind, in your relationships. Or how does your spouse like you to share appreciation? So for example, if I just do this and I get close to my husband, he feels appreciated. It's interesting how that works. Or I grab his hand, we fall asleep holding hands at night. In the morning, we'll snuggle. That, he shows that, okay, it just speaks volumes. I appreciate you. That's what he hears.
Fondness and admiration are two of the most crucial elements in a rewarding and long-lasting relationship. It goes on to say, when marriages fail, it is not increasing conflict, it is the cause. It is decreasing affection and emotional responsiveness that is the cause. When marriages fail, it is not increasing conflict, that it is the cause. So read that again. When marriages fail, it is not increasing conflict that is the cause.
Yes.
So a lot of times people we want conflict resolution. They think the conflict is the problem, and the problem is the problem. Well, the problem is not the problem. What is the problem? Is that we're not expressing fondness and admiration for one another. It's that with the decreasing affection, that decreasing thankfulness, that appreciation, that as that goes down, guess what? We feel unappreciated, we feel unloved, we feel disrespected, and now that creates conflict.
Yeah, taken advantage of or for granted. Yes. Yeah, so it's a super important one. Proverbs 16:24 says, kind words are like honey, sweet to the soul and healthy to the body. So you have a fondness. Did we hand out the fondness and admiration? Is it coming up?
Did we hand it out yet? Fondness and
so.
admiration sheets. If you could hand that out while we're, I appreciate you. Right here, appreciate activity. Yes, get ready for that. Get ready to do the appreciate activity. So, does anybody know what kind of cars these are? Ferraris, yes. Every man would know these are beautiful Ferraris, the red Ferraris. The car on the bottom, how much do you think that's worth? The new car, the new Ferrari. How much do you think a new Ferrari is worth nowadays? $500,000 US for this particular model. So my love language, if anybody wants to buy me a Ferrari, that would fill my love language, and I would feel greatly appreciated. So the above car it's a 1964 GTO 50. Does anybody know, what do you think the value of that car is? Pardon me? $2.5 million. But the new ones, I can buy a brand new one for $500. The older one's worth more. What if I told you that particular car, race car number 23, won the Tour de France automobile 9 years in a row?
It's worth like $6 million.
You just told me it's $2.5 million, Paul. Now you're telling me it's $6 million? Why?
It's got value. It's done something.
What if I told you there's only 36 of these made in the world? Paul, what if I told you this was the last one ever? There's only one left. Paul, tell me what the real value of that car is. You said start at $2.5 million, you went to $6 million. So what is the price?
It's worth what someone is willing to pay for it.
Yes. Do you know how much this car sold for? $60 million US. Wow, the top one, the old car. But you know what? Sometimes we want a new car. We're not content with the old car. Sometimes we go window shopping. Sometimes if we look at the new cars and say, wow, look at that car. Look how the power, the speed. My car's a little slow. It doesn't have the same kind of revving. Maybe the convertible top isn't going up and down anymore. And maybe the exhaust system is leaking. It's a little bit of odor is coming into the cab. Maybe the road is getting a little rough. The tires are a little bit, the ride isn't rough. And it's not shiny and new. Maybe it's a little bit of paint. And the headlights maybe not working quite so bright. It needs some body work. A little Bondo, little lift kit maybe. Whatever. We start to look at all the problems, and there's some rattles, right? And maybe the radio doesn't work, and maybe we can't communicate, and there's a knocking in the engine. The engine light is on, and I put a piece of tape over it so I don't have to see it and know that there's a problem. The most priceless, valuable thing is right beside us. Again, what increased the value of the car? You know, when you see somebody driving a Ferrari, a new Ferrari, there's kind of almost like an arrogance and pride, look at my Ferrari. But if you see somebody driving an old car, what it is, it's kind of like, it's a different attitude. It's like, wow. And what is it that makes it so valuable? Is the amount of time and money they put into it. They never get it out. They tell anybody it's repairing an old car, you never get your value out of it. You put more time and money, but when you invest that time, you invest the money. When we invest in our car, instead of trading it in for a new model, there'll be pride, there'll be ownership. It's the history that we have with the car that makes it valuable. But sometimes we're willing to throw that history away and start over again. So value the car that you have. Put the time and investment into the car that you have, and you'll make this beautiful car that's worth more money. It's priceless.
Do you agree? Yeah.
So here
Yes.
we're going to...
I was wondering, is this a church or is it a car dealership?
That's a good question.
I'm just wondering here, you're talking about old cars and new cars. Do you have a reference, like, to your wife being
Yes.
Yes,
Am I
I
the
do.
old car or the new car?
She's a 1968 Ferrari.
okay.
And her engine still purrs, and a little polish up, and man, I wouldn't trade this car for any new car.
Yeah, a restored engine in this one.
And we restored the car, thankfully, then trading it in. But sometimes it's tempting. Sometimes it looks like grass is greener on the other side with the new cars. But you know what? The newer cars are much more high maintenance. Cost a lot more money, and they break down a lot more. Right? So it's better to invest what you have.
Okay, so you have a fondness and admiration activity that we're going to do right now. So on there, it gives you a whole list in the middle of character traits. So name a character trait that you appreciate about your partner, your friend, your family member, whoever you're going to think about. And then you're going to, today, you're going to write it out in the future, because remember, pen to paper rewrites the story much better, and it kind of transforms the brain. So, but today, you're going to take turns sharing what character trait that you're going to choose about each other, and then you're going to tell them a story that depicts when you saw them display this character trait, and just an appreciation for how you saw them display this. So we're going to take 5 minutes, so about 2.5 minutes each. Take a little bit longer to do this one because we really want you to take the time to do this.
And if you haven't expressed fondness and admiration towards each other for a while, this may be a bit of a challenging exercise, because we had one lady raised her hand at one of our seminars last year, and she said, what if you can't think of anything to appreciate about your husband? But it's real. It happens. Because when we get into that, we're going to get into the next layer of the house. It's called negative perspective. When we've been into such a negative perspective and all our thoughts are toxic or negative towards that person, sometimes we can't think of anything nice to say about them. So where does it start? It starts in the mind. We start changing our thoughts. And we asking God to show me what is in my wife that I can appreciate. And starting looking, we look for the bad. We get into that negative perspective. We start searching for the bad. We can point out everybody's faults. And actually, Ellen White has a quote. I love this quote in Ministry of Healing. It says, Adventist Home. It says that husbands should be the graveyard for their wife's faults, and wives, you should be the graveyard for their husband's faults. We should be the graveyard for each other's faults. What happens? You know what say to the dead? Dead know nothing. So we need to bury those faults and start looking for the good, asking God to show us through His eyes, through His lenses, what is the good in my spouse's heart. When we were negative, I couldn't think of anything nice about my wife 24 years ago.
That must have been really hard for you.
But as we started looking, all those qualities when we first dated and first met, they're still there. Just the criticism, the bitterness, the contempt, it's all put layers on where we can't see anymore. So God wants to give us what? Eye salve to take off the blindness so that we can see the heart, not the outward appearance. Look at the heart. So as you know, if you have trouble, and if you can't still think of anything nice to say about yourself, come see us afterwards, because we'd love to talk. So take this time, take 2.5 minutes each to just share this an appreciation with each other. All right, has everybody done it, each having a turn? Should we give 1 more minute? Or is everybody finished? No. No? Okay, so give you another 2 minutes. Okay. For those of you finished, you can do another one. Right. How did it feel to be appreciated? Did it feel nice? Does it feel nice to be appreciated?
Look at these two over here. You can tell they're like, their heads are in. They're like, oh, this felt good. It does feel good.
Mm-hmm.
But the one thing I want to encourage you, sometimes we let appreciation bounce off of us. Have you ever done that?
I told my wife, hey honey, you look really sexy tonight. What did you say?
You're delirious.
What? So why did you say that?
Because I wouldn't let myself believe that, I guess.
Because we don't believe it. So sometimes we reject the appreciation or fondness because we don't believe it about ourselves. This is those beliefs, those core values, or those core beliefs that we talk about. If I don't feel good enough, if I don't feel like I'm pretty or attractive, or I don't feel sexy, if I don't feel that I'm smart enough. When she tells me, oh, that was such a brilliant idea, and I say, yeah, right. Because I don't believe it in myself. This is where the challenge is when we talk about the wellness wheel, we talk about those core beliefs, because we need to believe it ourselves before we can accept it. Right?
Or even just to speak, thank you. Right? That's part of the first step of accepting appreciation. And then sharing how it made you feel. If that is your love language, appreciation, and you're not getting it, you're going to feel starved in your relationship.
So when we were in a negative perspective, I had some advice. I had some friends from Rwanda, and they shared some advice. I asked them, how do you share a compliment to a lady in Rwanda, in their culture? And he said, well, so he told me what it was, so I went home and tried it. I turned to my wife, and I thought, this is okay, we get some brownie points right here. Honey, you have beautiful thighs like a cow.
I have beautiful thighs. Do you know how big the thighs of a cow are?
Yeah.
Are you saying I'm fat?
No, it's supposed to be a compliment.
What do you mean a compliment? That is not a compliment. You're telling me I'm fat.
Anyway, so I went back to church the next week and I talked to my Rwandan friend. Said, so they said, did you try it? And I said, yes, I tried it, and I slept on the couch for the week. He said, well, what? It worked. I said, what did you say? I told him what I said. He said, no, it's beautiful eyes, like a cow. So that is a compliment. They have big, beautiful eyes.
Have you ever seen cows' eyelashes? They're gorgeous.
But the language, and so we got to be careful how we, some things when we express fondness and admiration, yeah.
We might not take it the right way. So be sure you clarify like I did. Like, are you calling me fat? No.
All right.
So cultivate the habit of speaking well of others. Dwell upon the good qualities of those with whom you associate, and see as little as possible of their errors and failings. Is that difficult? When tempted to complain of what someone has said or done, praise something in that person's life or character. Cultivate thankfulness and appreciation. Praise God for his wonderful love in giving Christ to die for us. So this is in one of our favorite books called Ministry of Healing, which is just emphasizing again the message we're speaking of this afternoon. So
we're going to turn towards...
Yes, we're talking about building love maps to know each other, showing fondness, admiration, appreciation of a character quality. So if I just say, thanks for taking out the garbage, honey, it's not the same as, thanks for taking out the garbage, honey. You know, you are so dependable and reliable. I love that about you.
Thanks.
So it's a totally different feel, isn't it? Because I'm talking about who he is at the core. He's dependable, he's reliable. And it's going to just sink in and make him feel like, okay, this lady loves me.
So the next level of the sound relationship house, which I seem to have lost,
is turning towards. Yes.
Is turning towards instead of away. And this is one of my wife's favorite levels of the house because her husband was very bad at turning towards, and I was turning away most of the time.
With all the couples we coach with, this is where the elevator stops and the marriage breaks down. Because if we're not showing interest in each other's world, we're not appreciating each other. And then on top of that, we're not turning towards bids for connection. This is where it all breaks down completely, and the marriage and the relationship crumbles with parents and children as well. So many times you will see children come and make a bid for connection. And if maybe forward the other one, yeah. And then in relationships where you're masters, you will turn towards these bids for connection 86% of the time. And relationship disasters will turn towards them 33% of the time. So it's super important, this concept, learning what a bid looks like.
This is my favorite slide. This is what I had to learn the slow way. Continually turning toward your loved one creates the foundation of trust, emotional connection, passion, and intimacy.
It's true.
Yeah. So a lot of times people, well, there's no passion, there's no intimacy in our marriage. Well, how well are you doing at the 3 first levels of the house? Are you turning towards your partner when they make bids?
Are you building your friendship through doing that?
So it's what builds. Taking the garbage out when my wife asks is building connection and intimacy.
Or taking it out when I don't ask. Hey, ladies. Yeah. It means even more when we know each other's worlds so well that we don't even have to ask, that your spouse knows and just does it.
So what is a bid for connection?
Well, a bid is an attempt that a person makes to connect with someone. It's a gesture, either verbal or nonverbal, for positive connection. So it could be positive connection, it could be for conversation, maybe just to have some fun and laugh together, could be for affection or maybe support. So there's many different ways that we make bids, and children are so good at bidding. They'll go, "Daddy, daddy, daddy, come out and play with me."
I'm busy, I have to finish this assignment for work, just give me another 10 minutes.
You said you would come play baseball with me.
Can't you see I'm busy?
Then they come back. Daddy, it's been 10 minutes. Come.
Just a little bit longer. I'm not quite done. Just go out and play. I'll come out later.
I have been playing. I'm waiting.
Look, you know what? Just go do something useful. Go to your room and do your homework.
I've already done my homework so we could have time together.
Do we do that with our children sometimes? We ignore them. They were trying to make bids for... Our daughter is still making... Sometimes we ignore our daughter. She's 21. That was not your age, but she's 21 and she still makes bids. As a matter of fact, she made a bid for connection at Christmas time, last Christmas. And she said, hey, Mom and Dad, can we build a fort in the living room and, make some of these fun little, pina colada drinks with the little umbrellas? And what is my thought? No. You know what? We have to get all the blankets out. We're going to make a mess. It's going to be taken. We're going to clean it up.
And you're an adult.
And you're 21 years old. A fort? Really? Grow up. But you know what? We did it. You know what? It was one of the most building connections. It was amazing. We heard the bid, and instead of turning against or turning away from it, I said, let's do that. That sounds like fun. And we spent 2 hours in this little made-up fort with our blankets, and we had the best time connecting. We missed those opportunities of connecting because we're so practical and so logical.
Almost missed out on a lifetime memory. Yeah.
Here's some examples of some bids.
Yes, and I just want to insert here that children will rebid often. But eventually, as they grow up, if their bids aren't turned towards, they stop bidding.
And bitter wives stop bidding.
It's true. And even in a relationship, I stopped bidding altogether. I said, fine, I guess I have to take care of myself, and I'm just going to do it myself. So I'd get the ladder out, I'd slam it on the ground, open it, climb up there, change the light bulb myself.
Oh, it's about time.
Yeah. So I would just stop bidding,
hanging.
and I started to do everything. And he noticed I was doing everything. He's probably, oh, this is kind of nice, right? But we're in such a negative perspective, that's how he viewed it.
So to be fair, I would change the light bulb. But just not in the same day or the same week or the same month, right? Why do today what you can do tomorrow, right? It's like...
Manana?
But yeah. I realize now when she says, would you change the light bulb, she actually means within the next 5 minutes. So when she says, would you change the light bulb, I'm okay, where is it? Let's go. I'm now, 1 John 3:18. Love not only in word, but in what? In truth and in action, deed. I was not a man of action, and I wasn't turning towards my wife's bids.
And my love language was acts of service. Please do things for me, make me feel loved, do things with me.
Does anybody here have acts of service as a love language? You do. See, I've really struggled with that as a love language because what is garbage, taking out the garbage really, how is that, I think physical touch, now there's a love language I can understand.
And for me, physical touch was at the bottom of my list. So
it wasn't on your list, actually.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine how difficult this could be? But I chose to start touching, to start kissing him, hugging him when he leaves and when he comes home. We're going to end off with love habits. And I started to choose to make love habits physical connection.
And I started making acts of service a habit.
I
take out the garbage. I change the light bulbs. I'm a man of action.
Without me
superhero.
Asking. So, and this is amazing because as I started to love him the way he needed to be loved, then next time, every 3-4 years we do the love language test. Guess where physical touch was on my list? It wasn't at the bottom. It was in the middle.
Amen.
I was learning to enjoy it.
Yes.
And now I miss it. If we leave in the morning, we don't hug or kiss, and I head out the door, sometimes I go back in. I'm like, Marlon, I'm leaving. Please come and give me a kiss. Or if we do end up leaving and I'm driving to work, I just feel like something's missing. And that's not my love language.
So I'm hoping in another 3 years, this can be your top love language. Anyway, so what do bids look like? Pay attention to what I say.
Respond to simple requests.
Like taking out the garbage.
Yes.
Or hey, was that the dryer? I heard the buzzer or something. No, she says that. Is that the dryer buzzer? Yeah, would you get up and go take it? And watching the hockey game is kind of annoying. Go get the laundry.
But what am I really saying?
Can you help me?
Can you go get the
I'm trying
clothes
to
out of
make
the
dinner and
dryer
the
and
buzzer-
fold them?
I was a slow learner.
Yeah, so they don't wrinkle. That's great.
We have that wrinkle setting. You just put it on, it just keeps going. That's you solved the problem.
Show interest in my accomplishments.
Yeah.
You know, you come home from work and Marlon came home and he said, "Oh, honey, I forgot to tell you. I got my 30-year gold pin at work." And I was like, wow, okay, that's a big accomplishment. 30 years at the same company. See, my man is a steady Eddie. He's in there for the long haul. And for me, I like change. So I would never be at a company for 30 years, would I?
Nope.
Yes. All right, so show interest in accomplishments.
Answer my questions for information. Do you know where the address for Aunt Sharon is? She could ignore that and I could have to look it up, but sure, here it is. She texted it to me, right? So we can find kind of how to get to her house last night.
I think my daughter's resonating with this one.
Oh, she sent directions? Yeah.
This is, answer my question for information. She'll be talking to me and I'll be so zoned in on something that I'm doing, I don't even hear her. Then all of a sudden I hear, Doreen.
Yeah, when she says when she says Marlon or Doreen,
And
she's
when
like,
it's my daughter's voice saying Doreen, I'm like, that's wrong.
that's how she gets our attention.
But sometimes she has to, and we do. I just chuckle and I laugh, go, oh, yeah, sweetie, what did you say? Right? But, being attentive and present is a way of turning towards.
Yeah, the best gift is the gift of presence.
It is, for sure.
Sometimes we're not actively engaged. We can be carrying on a conversation, but we can be thinking of something else. I can be all the three things. I can be at work. Oh, man. But it's like, pay attention to me, right? So turn towards can actually be meaning physically turning towards. If I'm over here and I'm like a squirrel, right? Oh, there's another nut. Oh, I have to actually focus on my wife and what she's saying because sometimes I miss what she said. I just told you that 5 minutes ago. Oh.
Have you ever been talking to someone and they're standing there and they're just staring at you and you can just see it's vacant?
You're not talking about me. Okay.
No, I'm not.
Chat with me.
Yeah.
Respond to my joke.
Yes, you can tell my husband's the one who has a sense of humor, and I'm very straight-laced.
She doesn't find a lot of my humor funny.
He likes when I laugh at his jokes and respond to
Even
them.
if it's not funny, right? Help me de-stress. I thought it was help de-stress.
So what does de-stressing look like, right? Finding out what that looks like for you and having that conversation. Help me problem solve. So when you're having a conversation, many of us are problem solvers. And one of the little tips we give is to ask, if you're naturally a problem solver, just slow down, engage your presence there, and just ask the question, do you want me just to listen right now, or are you wanting me to problem solve with you? Then, once you know if it's just listening, you can just put your brain at rest, put your mind at rest, and then just focus to be empathetic and caring and validating.
I'll let you read the next one.
Be affectionate.
Yes. Play with me. Our dad are still like, hey, can we go have some fun? Let's go play something. Let's go, let's do something.
Mm-hmm.
Our children was, hey, just let's play.
Yeah.
And lastly,
join me in an adventure. How many of you like adventure? You like to do things. How many of you prefer just to stay at home and just relax?
Oh.
A few.
Most are adventurous.
So just try. I think the others are afraid to put their hand up. It's okay to be, we call it a homebody. You like your home. But when you're in a relationship, usually one of you is adventurous and one of you is a homebody. Who do you think is the adventurous one in our marriage? Me.
Yes.
And in your marriage, you can point to them. Who's the adventurous
It's the only time
one?
you can point in the whole seminar. Okay? Otherwise, it's pointing there.
Okay. So it's learning to turn towards each other's bids. So this is what a bid, should we do what a bid could look like?
if you'd like to. Hey, honey. Hey, honey, do you want to go to the mountains tomorrow and go hiking?
Sure.
Doesn't sound like you really want to go.
No, I want to go. You want to go.
I know I want to go, but you're not sounding too excited about it.
You know what? You want to go. I'm good with going. It's what you want to do. I like doing things you want to do.
You know what? We're not going to go because you're just going to be, moping the whole time of the trip and you want to get back. You're not going to.
I'm not going to be moping.
We're not going to go. Sometimes we don't turn towards the bid with all our heart, with all enthusiasm. You know what? If we truly are interested in them, we would be excited to do something with them. So I'm going to ask you, let's do a redo. I'm going to give you an opportunity to do a redo. Honey, would you like to go to the mountains tomorrow?
Yeah, let's go.
Oh, okay, sounds like you want to go. Good. So how about we get up and we get going by 7 a.m. so we can beat the traffic up to Lake Louise?
Oh, can we just sleep in a little bit? It's like our day off. It's Sunday, and how about we leave the door at 10?
Okay, that's work. We still get there, but yeah, we still have a good hike. And maybe we can stop at your favorite restaurant in Canmore on the way home.
Oh,
like
now
that?
You're talking my love language. Yeah.
Okay.
So what kind of hike? Are we going to do a long hike? Should we take a lunch? Or?
Yeah, can we take a lunch? Maybe take some, how about some peanut butter and honey sandwiches? Reminds me of us, the peanut butter and honey. We stick together.
Okay. How about I make you a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? And I'll just make myself, I don't know, maybe like I like when there's just like tomato, lettuce, and some onion and cucumber. Is that okay if we have separate sandwiches?
Sounds good.
Okay.
So you can see the difference, right? Our tone, our enthusiasm versus, so we can turn towards a bid, but we can do it half-heartedly, and the person's going to know. It's going to feel like their heart's not in it. And my wife used to ask me to go to, dare I say this, but craft shows. If anybody know what a craft show is? Men, how many of you men like to go to craft shows? 1, 2, 3. Wow! I'm impressed. So my wife would ask me to go to crafts, and I'd rather go sit in a dental chair for 2 hours. No, I don't want to go to a craft show. But she made bid after bid after, and every holiday season, around Christmas time in November, December, there's all these craft shows, and there'd be like 3 of them. So she'd ask me to go to every 3 of them, and I always say no, no, no. And finally, when we're in a good place, I said, yes, let's go. She's like, what?
I'm like, can you say that again?
So I turned towards her bed enthusiastically. I said, yeah, let's go. And
in fact, he even bought tickets online.
Yeah,
I was like,
because you can save 50% if you
something's
buy
going
online.
on here.
So I was planning ahead for her, but help me too. So we bought the tickets, and I said, how do you go? Maybe we can grab a little bite to eat before we go.
That'd be great.
And then so we're going there. So in the craft show, we were holding hands, we were having fun, doing samples, and we're laughing together. You know what? Physical affection and quality time, my 2 love languages. Guess what? We did it the whole time. It was like, why didn't I go to craft, expos before? It was a lot of fun. So now I'm actually, hey, honey, there's a craft show coming in November 30th. Do you want to go to craft show? Let's go.
It's true.
So yeah, when our daughter was there, we actually took our kids to the craft show because now they're fun. And I'm the one that spends the money. Bought this really nice crokinole board. Anyways, yeah, they're cool.
So our attitude is everything.
But what changed? Why did I say no, and now I said yes? Pardon me?
You want to spend time together.
Spend time together. It was quality time. It was physical touch. It was all these things that I didn't even think of those things. But when we're interested in our partner, when we treasure them, when we appreciate them, and we want them to fulfill those life dreams or those things that are important to them, I wanted to do what's important to her. And what she's interested in, I'm interested in. If I wasn't interested, I wouldn't do it. But because she's interested in it and I'm interested in her, I now do what she likes to do. That's what it is. Love is not self-seeking. Love is giving. So when I started giving love and started doing things and turning towards these bids excitingly, it changed the dynamics of our relationship.
It does, and it changes the dynamics with your children. I was talking to a young girl who's now a young adult, and she said, growing up, we did a lot, but I did it alone. So, I get dropped off at the pool, go camping, and I would go off and do my own thing. So we can still turn towards the bid, our child's bid, but still be disengaged. So she said, I just wish that my parents would have come swimming with me. I just wish that when we went camping, they would come explore the trees with me and the leaves and go to the water. I just wish, and her list went on and on and on. So that is an example of where we think we're turning towards a bid, but we're not fully engaged in the bid. And it can still be hurtful. So think about what bids look like in your world. So number one, what are some ways I express my need for connection and support? Number two, am I aware when my loved one is making a bid?
What do verbal bids look like in our relationship? And what do non-verbal bids look like in our relationship? So, and we also give you a handout, the sheet turning towards bids that you can do in activity. But just right, we're going to take a couple of minutes each, and I want you to share with each other, go through 1, 2, 3, 4, and share how you express your bids and what that looks like in verbally and non-verbally, just to understand, because a lot of times we miss the bids in our relationship. I used to miss most of my wife, or I would ignore them intentionally. So just kind of share and go through these and have that discussion.
Yeah, just to understand. And we will tell you that when we coach with couples, a lot of the men are the ones that say, I think I'm missing a lot of bids here. And it's usually because their wife is using subtle bids. So bids can be subtle or obvious. So can you go get the clothes out of the dryer?
Sure.
Or was that the dryer buzzer? So which was subtle out of those two? The dryer buzzer. Yeah, the obvious bid is, can you go get the clothes out of the dryer, please? So a lot of men say to their wives, you know what, I think I'm missing a lot of the subtle bids that you're telling me I'm missing, and I can see it's frustrating you. So moving forward, can you try to make your subtle bids obvious? So this is what we tell them to do. You can still make the subtle bid. Is that the dryer buzzer? Honey, can you just go get the clothes out of the dryer, please, and hang them up and fold them? So that when they hear the subtle bid, they're now knowing what it is. So as they start making more of those subtle bids, if it's hard to make the switch, the wife is usually reminding themselves, okay, that was subtle, let's make it obvious. And then it's actually training us, even if it's a husband that makes a subtle bid, you're training each other to hear the subtle bid and know what it means. Yeah.
So we're going to take a few minutes to do this, and when we come back, we have one more slide, and then we're going to take a break. So just take some time, take a few minutes each, just say maybe 2 or 3 minutes each sharing and having a conversation so you know and understand what these bids look like. So we're going to take a break.
Okay, would anyone be willing to share? We have a couple books to give out to people that are willing to share.
Yeah, bribery works the best.
My mother-in-law standing up.
What do you do when somebody doesn't hear what you're saying, you repeat it 3 times, and he hasn't heard a word you said, and I offer to buy new hearing aids at my house, and it's not happening. So,
Write it down.
I said that sign language.
A whiteboard.
We'll talk to you after.
We'll have a private consultation with you tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. We'll book you in special. Yes?
I get hearing aids free, and batteries free for a lifetime.
But he can't hear you.
So it is true. As we age and we lose our hearing, actually this is a real thing that can be frustrating in relationships, is for both, right? When you can't hear, it's frustrating. And yet the other person, when they don't feel heard, it's also frustrating. So it's a real thing.
Last night, those of you here last night, what we talked about is how to speak in a way to be heard and how to listen in a way that's reciprocated heard. So there's 2 parts, right? How to be a good
Listener.
and how to be a good speaker. And learning those gentle startups, learning how to gently speak. So learning those skills, how to, because sometimes I don't listen to you. And sometimes I don't speak in a way that's going to conducive to listening to me. So
That's
learning
right.
those skills, and there's some really good skills to learn that way. So lastly, who's going to share? We're going to give this free book.
Yes.
7 Principles for Making Marriage Work. What we're doing this afternoon. It's a great book. Has anybody here read it?
Yeah, so
Okay. So anybody who's not read it, all you have to do is share some of your comments. What do your bids look like? Share in the bids in your relationship.
Yeah, or what did you learn about bids in
From
your
each other.
conversation? What did you learn about each
So-
other?
It's over a $20 value. Who would like to share? Don't be so bashful.
I'll share something.
Hey, there you go.
Well, my wife and I we really struggled with that subtle request thing,
Okay, thank you. Yes.
right? And so there came to be a point where I just refused it. If you're gonna just continuously give me your subtle requests and expect me to gear it all out in my brain and try to figure out what the underlying thing is that you actually want this time, I just refused to quit. It's like, no, if you don't want to just straight up ask me what you would like, then I'm not going to answer you.
Okay.
But, you know, there came to be a point where she would start to try to explain what her subtle
Be
thing
more clear. Yeah.
and, you know, we started to get through that, and then I started to respond to her requests. But like we were just talking about now, you know, a guy working all hard all day, 10, 12-hour days some days, and you come home and then you get these, it's like a game that she's trying to test if you still have enough brains left to figure out what she wants. You know, and you're tired, man. You got kids climbing on you, and it's like, the simple answer is no. I don't have any brain cells left to figure out what you want. Just tell me what you want, please.
You said that so well, because
Is that
that
recorded? Can you send us a copy of that? We hear that so often. You just nailed it for most men, and yes, probably half the men here can relate.
You did, because this is exactly the complaint. All of our couples express it, but you said it so well.
Wow.
So, really,
Can you repeat it?
yeah.
Can
So,
we give you a mic? Can you do a redo of that, man? Man, it was good. We couldn't. I can't explain it that good. And then we'll share some thoughts after that. And here's your book, man.
Thanks, I wanted
You earned that, buddy. You earned it. What's your name, by the way?
I'm Jeremy.
Jeremy.
Bless you all. Struggles
Okay,
come in
can
all
you
ways.
just try to redo that? That was amazing. We want to get it on tape here. I don't know if you can do that.
I honestly thought that I was the one at fault because, you know, she still just honestly had a request, and maybe she didn't have all the, you know, all the brains left after her hard day. We got 4 kids. It's not like she wasn't busy. And so the subtle request, I would just reject it because I'm like, I'm not playing your game.
Not playing a game. It was a
You know?
game, yeah?
And it's like, to me too, the answer comes in a whole bunch of different forms. Like if you were to just ask, the buzzer went off, can you please fold the laundry? Well, there's, okay, I might be able to do it right now in the next 5 minutes, or I'm in the middle of something, I can't get to that for another half an hour, or I just don't have the energy left, there's no possible way I can do that until tomorrow. There's a whole range of answers too that are already going through a man's brain. So you got to figure out what you actually want on top of all this huge bubble of life going on. I'm like, no, I quit.
No, thank you.
Please ask me straight up what you want so that I can actually formulate a proper answer for your question.
Now your wife isn't here, right?
No.
So she can't defend herself. But so is there possibly any reasons she doesn't be more direct in her bids? Yes. Here we go.
So one thing we've learned, and we're still learning and trying to grow through this, but I think one of the reasons that the couples, won't make direct bids is because you're afraid that you're going to get rejected. So you go with a subtle bid so that if it gets ignored, you don't feel like you actually got rejected. And so we have to learn how to, yes, make clear, direct bids, but then respond to them with love and enthusiasm, acceptance, whatever.
We're going to take both of you on our next seminar because you both played both that perfectly. Thank you. Thank you for being. Oh, here. Hang on a second. Yeah. You got one. We'll give you another book. We'll get another book for you. So thank you for both for sharing. Be willing to. But yeah, so you can see the other side now. Possibly what your wife maybe in the past you've not turned towards a bid, so she now gets a little bit shy or a little bit. I'm not so sure it's safe to make a bid. So these are those conversations. You have that sheet. Have those conversations, what do our bids look like? Talk about the subtle bid, talk about a direct bid, and ask her the question. We just asked our daughters, what would prevent you from making a bid towards us? That's a good question, right?
She said, fear that it isn't going to happen.
Rejection, as you said, Pastor Roy. So, yeah, powerful. So we're going to close off with one last slide, then we'll take a break. This one right here, positive ratio 20-1. Okay, positive perspective. It's in that next level of the house that I think I left my sheet over there. It is a positive perspective. That's the fourth level of the house. And that fourth level of the house, what is it? Tell us about it, honey.
Well, when we're doing all of the first floors, we know each other's world, the love maps. We're expressing fondness and admiration regularly. And then we're turning towards bids for connection or support or whatever that may be, or affection. We're going to be in a positive perspective, aren't we? We're going to be thinking about each other positively because we're going to feel loved by one another. But what happens is most often we're not turning towards and wanting to learn about each other. Communication has stopped. Fondness and admiration has stopped. And that's where the elevator stops. And many couples get out there and they never go back. So we encourage couples to stay there in the elevator together and work it out and start practicing. Go back to the ground floor, start over again. Get into that positive perspective because we need 20 positive interactions every day to every negative interaction. That seems like a lot, doesn't it?
Negative has so much toxicity, so much.
It does.
Yeah.
And what does a positive interaction look like? It can be a smile to show I'm happy with you, right? It can be a touch. It can be a kiss. It can be making a tea for your loved one. It can be getting the clothes out of the dryer. It can be putting toothpaste on your spouse's toothbrush, right? It can be little tiny things, small things often
You
is
would
the
not be
motto.
happy if I put toothpaste on your toothbrush.
I wouldn't?
I don't think so. Your dental assistant, you like the germs to be growing.
I actually would.
Okay, I'll try that. I didn't know that. Wow, I learned something new.
See,
today.
we learn something new every day.
So what is the opposite of a positive perspective? Negative perspective or a negative sentiment override. Everything that we do or say will be interpreted negatively if we're not doing those first three levels of the house. they're automatically, we're going to be having a negative. So I would bring my wife home some beautiful flowers.
When he was pursuing me, and I didn't want him to.
And when she's in a negative perspective, I would bring her flowers. Here, honey, I brought these flowers home for you.
And you know, he brought these flowers home. I still remember because it was so annoying. It was a monkey.
So
with
annoying.
its arms around the vase, and you squeeze the little paw of the monkey.
So cute.
And it sang a I love you song of some sort. I think it was an
Doesn't sound
Elvis
adorable.
song or something. Oh, I still remember it was so impactful. I'm like, this is crazy. Because he was hoping that humor would diffuse things between us. And at that time, I didn't see his humor very funny. So yeah, he brought that home. And sad to say, do you know what I did with the flowers? I did.
How did you know?
I put them in the garbage.
That's not very nice of her, was it?
I did. Because my thought was, what do you want?
I just wanted to show affection. Okay, love you.
Yeah.
What have you been up to? What what'd you do wrong?
Yeah, exactly.
What are you trying to apologize for now, right?
Because this was not a normal thing in our marriage anymore.
So anything I would do, why? What's the motivation?
They were red roses.
So the trust. If we're not doing well in the other levels of the house, our trust erodes, and we get in this negative perspective where there's nothing I can do ever is right. It's not good enough, and it will never be always perceived, and that negative sentiment will override. So the only way to get out of that is start doing the first 3 levels of the house. And this is, as we said last night, Dr. John Gottman, he's not a psychologist. He's a mathematician. This is basically a formula for love. It's a science of love. You follow these first 3 principles, you'll be guaranteed to flip into a positive perspective. And then it happened in our relationship. We were both in a negative perspective. But when we started doing these principles, it actually turned our relationship from a negative sentiment override into a positive sentiment override. And now we give each other grace more easily. If I do screw up or mess up or do something wrong, you know what? Because our emotional bank account has been built up, we're more forgiving. We allow for the mistakes more easily, right?
So our Thursday night conflict where I did not communicate well, I flooded and let my emotions get out of control, and I wasn't rational. So it took us 15 minutes of talking it through, and then it was over. So there is a quote that says, how does it go? If we were to remove pride and selfishness in ourselves, in our lives, conflict would last 5 minutes. Would you agree? If we're coming together and we're both talking about our 100% responsibility in this conflict, and that's what we did, there was no opportunity for defensiveness. None. The defensiveness just fizzled out. It was gone, and we were able to talk about what we needed next time. So we're going to talk about this next, but let's just review ways to keep your relationship in a positive perspective. Let your partner influence you. And Jeremy, that's where I was going to say, this is if you want to do your 100% responsibility in what you said, would be allowing her to influence you and really trying to understand what her subtle bids mean, right? So kind of swaying her way, saying, I hear you have a need. So let me try to listen and really hear what that means.
Next one is increase your fondness and admiration, which we were practicing. So start being more fond, having that daily attitude of thankfulness and gratitude and appreciation.
And then third, turning towards those bids for connection. Because when you turn towards bids for connection, they turn into an emotional connection. Because you feel like that person cares about what's important to you.
Ladies, when do you feel like you're understood or emotionally connected? Does anybody want to share? What does it mean to be, what does it mean you feel understood? What does it take? How is it when you felt heard or not heard? Does anybody, does it make a difference if your partner is understanding the emotion, the feeling, how you're feeling, not just your intellect?
Absolutely.
So when you hear the emotion, so a lot of men, we listen to the intellect, to the actual words. We don't listen to the emotion behind the words. If we can start to learn heart listening, we do an exercise, heart listening, listening to the heart. Women say, my husband doesn't listen to me, he doesn't understand me, he doesn't hear me. Well, because a lot of times we're talking different languages, or I'm talking from the intellect and she's talking from the heart, and they're missing each other. So we need to learn, especially for men, I have to learn to understand and listen to my wife's heart. And behind it, then she feels heard, and understood and connected and known. So,
Validated, yes.
so we're going to take a bit of a break, and then we're going to go into conflict. So yes, we're going to talk about conflict in a little bit.
How to turn conflict into connection.
Yes. What do we want? 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes? Yeah.
How about we come back at 3:50?
No.
Oh, 3:50?
So take 10 minutes? 10 minutes, yeah. Let's take 10 minutes.
Get some water. Yeah, walk around.
This,
We want to keep you awake.
certainly not that one, it's the second.
All right. Let's begin. We'll get through this, the final hour.
So we always have, to be honest, trouble getting through everything. But what we really want to focus on is the last 3 handouts. Okay, so we're going to hand them out shortly if they haven't been handed out.
Jenna, would you mind handing some of this out? These, this one.
Yeah. So do you believe that you can use conflict as a way to connect with one another in a positive way? Yeah, now. That's right, you can. So this afternoon for this last part, I know we only have like an hour and 10 minutes left, but we're going to kind of speed through the presentation part because we really want to explain and get you guys to do some work on the handouts.
So fasten your seatbelts. It's about to get a little bumpy. We're talking about conflict.
Yes.
So this is the first slide. Conflict is an opportunity to learn to love each other better over time.
Do you believe that? True or false? True? Yeah, so whenever you have conflict, if we can just view it in a different way, that it's an opportunity of growth to learn more about each other. When we view it that way, conflict doesn't maybe seem so scary, because we talked about, when we look at the roller coaster, one looks at it fearfully and the other looks at it in a way, yes, exciting, let's go. That's how couples look at it in conflict as well. Some look at it as it's fearful, let's not go there, I'm going to withdraw. And the others is like, no, let's talk about it, let's figure this out, and they pursue the conflict. So it's really learning a different mindset around conflict, that it's an opportunity to learn better about each other and to grow.
So what is the number one thing couples fight about? This is where you guys get a chance to talk. Right? No shyness here. What are the number one things what are people fighting about? What are you guys fighting about? Pardon me? Finance is the number. Yeah, that's a big one. Yes. What else? Kids. Yes. What else do couples fight about? Balance. Money. What was else? I heard some other one.
Hearing aids.
Hearing aids. Yes. Not being heard. Yes. What else do they fight about?
Working too much.
Working too much.
Or too little.
Yeah, too little, too much. Right. So we often fight about what we have too little or too much of in our life. That's a very good point. Yeah.
So what do you?
Too much hockey. You have too much hockey in your life, honey.
Not
It's
enough.
stealing time from
Not
us.
enough. It keeps me in shape. Yes.
Too many books.
Too many books. Oh, I see. I see shaking in agreement.
Okay.
Too many books. Okay. Anybody else? What do we fight about? What do we have conflict? Sorry? Too much scrolling on the internet. Okay.
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 And another big one in marriages is physical intimacy.
That's a huge one.
That's a huge one. Yeah.
Too much of the screen time, too much scrolling, internet, phone, smartphone, texting. Yes, we get distracted. We're not really present. We can be carrying on a conversation, but we're distracted. Distracted driving and distracted conflict, marriage, whatever. Yeah, we can get distracted. So you know what Gottman has found out the number one things couples fight over? Nothing. The problem isn't the problem. The issue isn't the issue. We fight about little things. It's little things, books, dinner.
Your piles.
Okay, let's not go there.
Okay.
This is not. We're not starting conflict. We're trying
Paper
to resolve
piles.
conflict today. Yes, I do have a few piles, but it's the little things. We talked to some friends. Like, they ended a friendship over dishwater. The dishwasher. Well, the one wanted it would change the dishwasher. Well, no, there's still a little bit of soap left, and then there's little suds. They finish it. Well, no, it's not going to be clean. They haven't talked for 6 months over dishwater.
That's not the real issue.
Well, yes, exactly. So the real issue is, what is it?
So they don't communicate.
They don't communicate. The first 4 levels of his house, they're in a negative perspective. They haven't expressed fondness and admiration. They haven't built those love maps. They haven't been friendship. And these little irritating things, they're in their negative. So anything happens, they just, and they want to be right.
Which way the toilet paper rolls?
Oh, yes. And which way does it? Which is the correct way?
It has to roll off the top where you can see it. Absolutely.
Over, how many overs, how many unders?
Under.
Oh. Just having toilet paper. Yeah, that's the problem. I didn't actually put the toilet. I'd use the last piece and then I would not replace it. And there was nothing there. Yeah, that was a conflict.
Yes, it was. And one of our couples said that, you know what? We have a dog. And if you roll it over, they just go like this and it just rolls down. But if you do it the other way, the toilet paper stays on the roll.
So it could be, there's 2 types of problems. Perpetual problems and solvable problems. And perpetual problems, I'm not sure if we have slides. We start.
We're going to get there.
We're going to get there? Okay, I
yes,
go ahead of myself.
We're going to get there. All right, so James 4:1 says, "What is causing the quarrels and fights among you? Don't they come from the evil desires at war within you?" So we talked about our attitude, right? Can our thoughts and our thinking create evil feelings and then we act evil actions? Yeah. So that's what James 4:1 is talking about.
And this quote, if two people have unfriendly feelings toward each other, they take offense at anything and everything between them. This is that negative perspective. Harsh feelings are not the outcome of a quarrel, they are the cause of it. So when people come, you notice what level of the house, where is managed conflict, where is it at in the house? What floor level? Fifth. Why not number 1?
You got to get the other thing straight.
Yes. Have you ever tried to resolve a conflict when you're enemies? Is it hard? When you're in negative perspective? Can you resolve a conflict? What's the first thing you need to do? You need to be... So, this is where the embarrassing part is. You know what I do for a career? Conflict resolution. I work for a large company, and I would handle lawsuits, mediations, go to court every week, and I'd be handling these large cases, settling $500,000, $1 million lawsuits, and spend a lot of time with the judges. And I was doing conflict resolution every day, but I'd come home at night, and we couldn't resolve which way to put the toilet paper, over or under, right? Why? Because there's an emotional issue here. The emotions are involved. At work, I can separate the emotions, and I can just do it by logic. We can settle it. And over my time, I used to be really a win-lose type of, get the best deal for the company, and I didn't care what cost. But as over the times, I learned about a win-win principles, and learning, shifting from the position to the interest. And when we do that subtle little shift, it can make all the words. Then we become into this movement. It's called win-wins negotiations, and we both win the relationship. So we want to move from that negative perspective into that positive perspective, and a lot of the problems ended up being what? Resolved.
Yes, so we were at that 69% of unresolvable problems, probably higher at that point. Once we built our friendship, guess what? We found that our unresolvable problems were around 30%. There was hardly any to worry about. So it's quite amazing how when we build friendship and then we were in this positive perspective, we're able to weather the storms so much easier. So much easier. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces what? Perseverance.
I thank God so much. I so appreciate God put you in my life.
All the tests and trials.
Yes.
How do we be joyful?
Gary Thomas, I think you kind of alluded to that earlier, Gary Thomas, in the book Sacred Marriage. Have you read the book Sacred Marriage? What if God designed marriage not to make us happy, but to make us holy? Character refinement. Is God refining our characters through marriage? Marriage is the best place to develop our character. So, I consider it very joyful that we've had the opportunity to have a lot of conflict. So now we can have a lot of growth and a healthy relationship.
I read another quote recently that said, God puts trials in our life because he sees something worthy within us to still work on. So that tells me what? God loves me. So now when trial comes my way, I try to change my attitude and say, thank you, Lord. You love me and you see something worthy in me still. Yeah, so it gives me hope. We can look at it in a different way. 1 Peter 3:10-11 says, for the one who desires life to love and see good days must keep his tongue from evil and his lips from speaking deceit. He must turn away evil and do good. He must seek peace and pursue it.
Is it hard to tame the tongue?
This verse spoke to me. So I had to really tap into God and say, okay, I'm in a negative perspective. Help me to speak peace. Help me to seek it and to speak it. And it was a real journey for me.
And out of the heart, the mouth speaks, right? So that's why we talked about this morning, the heart. If we can fix the heart, if we can go through the forgiveness process and get rid of the bitterness and all that resentment, it's going to naturally flow. We're going to speak differently, naturally. But when we try to just to tame the tongue without changing the heart, it's hard, right? Because
the heart and mind, we talk about synonymously, right? We're changing our heart, our mind. Yes.
So what do we really need is the word attunement or attune. And it's an acronym for awareness,
Turning towards each other.
tolerance, patience,
Seeking to understand each other.
not just their words, but the emotion behind the words.
And non-defensive communication. So learning to truly understand and to hear.
And lastly, we need empathy.
Yes.
It's
Do
always
you
good.
know that if we are bitter, we are void of empathy? I can attest to that. I had no empathy, no compassion.
I can attest to that.
Even for my family, even for my children, as a parent, I was short, I was militant, I was all of this. So much damage because I did not realize that I was living my life from a root of bitterness. And once healing and forgiveness happened in my life, all of a sudden I became a compassionate mother, an empathetic mother. It was such an amazing transformation, and it felt so foreign to me, but such an amazing feeling at the same time.
And we have high expectations and low empathy. That's a recipe for disaster. And
Oh,
yeah.
we could go on about this. Anyways, we're not going to get sidetracked because we really want to finish.
So in that relationship house there, I think in the middle under conflict, it talks about accepting influence. There is an 81% divorce rate when husbands are not willing to share power with their wife. And the wife is more likely to respond harshly and escalate the conflict. Men, we have difficulty accepting influences from our wives. This is scientific. And what does it mean to accept influence?
It looks different in every relationship. So for me, accepting influence for me meant accepting influence about my desires and dreams, helping make them come true. So we weren't able to start a family till we were married 12 years. So in our friendships, we were kind of the older parents. And we had lots of time to create memories in those 12 years, and we had the financial resources to do it. And I kept making bids. And my husband would turn against me. So we talked about turning towards, turning away, and turning against. So if he just said, sorry, honey, we need to pay off the mortgage. You know, for someone that's in a good, positive perspective in their relationship, they might see it as, okay, I get it, and it's a turning away from the bid. But for me, it became a turning against. Year after year, bid after bid. And for me, he did not accept influence.
I kind of did. I did turn towards you. I did buy you Planet Earth.
Yes,
she wanted
you
to travel
did.
the world. So I bought, Costco had it on for $99. The whole series. We got to travel the world from the comfort of our own living. I made her popcorn and we sat down. I thought it was going to be like this amazing adventure. You wanted an adventure and to travel the world. And you know what? The way they film that, you know, they get into places that we can't travel to. So it's a much better, we can see more and better, right?
You can see I'm thrilled. So when he gave that to me, I tried to hold it together. I really wanted to throw the whole thing in the garbage can again, but I didn't because I knew my kids would enjoy it this time. So I didn't. But guess how that came across? Which one of the 4 horsemen do you think? Criticism, defensiveness, contempt, or stonewalling? How do you think I thought it looked like? Contempt, which
She ended up
made
stonewalling,
me
yes.
stonewall. So I felt like he was being contemptuous. He was putting me down, putting down my desires, and thinking what he wanted to accomplish in life was more important than what I wanted to experience. So it was a really tough thing for many years. So that's an example of not accepting influence and what it might look like. It might be, honey, maybe this week we could go out for dinner. And then dinner doesn't happen that week. And it could be a turning away, but also not accepting influence, right? And then a bid's made the next week. Maybe we could do it this week. It doesn't happen. Next week, well, could we do it this week? Could we go out? and it still doesn't happen. So it's a constant turning away. So you can see how turning away and not accepting influence from each other kind of go hand in hand.
And also, Gottman's talking about accepting influence is tied into emotional intelligence. So when we become more emotionally intelligent, we actually are able to accept influence better. So 3 types of problems that Gottman talks about is solvable problems. Those are problems that are about something that are situational and solutions can readily, easy, pretty found. We can solve those ones.
And then perpetual problems, problems about differences in personalities or lifestyle that come up over and over, or preferences. You know, you don't know how many times, if my kids didn't finish their plate, I put it in the fridge and put it in front of them the next meal. It was a perpetual problem in my mind, and in their mind it was a perpetual problem too. But how could I have done that differently? What if, you know, they don't like something? Isn't that okay? Why not say, yes, you don't have to finish? So I always ask parents to ask themselves, why not yes? In situations like that, because it will resolve a lot of perpetual problems, because sometimes 85% of conflict between parents and children is the parent.
So I mean, we don't accept influence from our children?
That's right. Yeah. We don't care about their likes and their dislikes, and we expect them to be behaviorally, you know, acting in a behavioral way and so on. But anyways, we could go down that road.
And
We're not
Doreen,
going to.
you had mentioned earlier that the perpetual problems, you talked about 69% of our problems are perpetual. That means you're going to have them over and over and over and over. And I think I mentioned this last night, but Gottman actually says, when somebody asks him, you know, what's the best way to choose a life partner? And he actually says, choose a set of problems you can live with. Because whether you meet Susie, Joy, or Doreen, they're all going to come with a set of problems, which is how they interact with your problems. What can you live with? That's his after science of 40 years, that's the best advice you can give. Pick a set of problems you can live with.
It's true, and we have expectations, don't we, going into a relationship. We have expectations for our children, and when they don't meet our expectations, whether it's our loved ones or children, whoever, well, then we think, man, you know, they're terrible people. But what about me? My expectations, are they too high? Are they reasonable? Yeah.
So this is the last type of problem. This is where it gets a challenge. It's gridlock problems. This is where problems, perpetual problems that are mishandled, or like travel in our relationship, they turn into a gridlock where we both, you know, butt heads, and there's no solution. And often hidden agendas underline the issue, and hidden dreams and hidden needs, or things that we don't. So when we get into gridlock, that's where the damage, or that's where it can be really lethal, because perpetual problems themselves, we can deal with those if we have the right tools, and we're going to share that in a little bit.
And when you get to gridlock, there are 2 things, again, that are not happening. When there's no movement, both of you are standing your ground. We become inflexible, not accepting influence from each other, not turning towards each other. Are we starting to paint the picture? Yeah.
Under your sound relationship house, there's 3 things that come under managed conflict. One of them says dialogue. So when we get, this is what we stop doing. We don't talk about the problem. We need to dialogue. Have that conversation, what's happening, and to understand the problem, seek to understand them, be understood. We need to have dialogue, and that's kind of the first part of the program, is to dialogue and talk about the problem. And you know,
yes.
We want to talk about a problem that we had this morning.
Yeah,
you're
do.
Being unreasonable.
There is a way to talk about it that we're going to get into it.
Well,
but
no,
yes, this morning, yeah.
So we need your help.
That was a problem.
It was probably, yeah, if you would have just accepted influence.
Really?
So we had, so at Aunt Sharon's this morning, there was only one lemon. And I really wanted that lemon. And Doreen really wanted the lemon, and we were fighting over the lemon, and it was getting she was getting kind of nasty. She didn't want me to have her lemon. So I want you guys now to help us to resolve the conflict. So I really wanted lemon, she really wanted lemon. What can we do? Like, what's the solution? What should we do? What would you say?
What are the options?
Here we go. What's it?
Marlon should just let Doreen have the lemon.
I like that one.
Steve, can you help me out?
I just go get the knife myself.
What was that?
Cut it in half.
Cut it in half. 50, give her half, I keep half. Okay.
There you go. That's the obvious solution, isn't it?
Is that the obvious solution? Okay. Is there any other possibilities? Make lemonade. When life serves you lemon, squish it and make lemonade. So anything else? Any other options?
Go to the grocery and buy a bag of lemons.
It was Sabbath. I couldn't do that. So we're in a real conflict, right? It's a real dilemma. Like, who's going to win? Who's going to lose? So we have these solutions, but what do you think the best solution could be? Is we're going to share. We're going to help you. Here's the Thomas Kilman conflict model. This is what all the experts use. This is what I used to use when conflict resolution in my days with a large company, resolving conflicts. So we have in the middle what is compromising. You versus them, right? And we have in the middle, so it's 50-50. So this is the 50. So you said that's the best solution, compromise. And that's a good solution, right? We each get half. We're both half fulfilled, but are we both feeling maybe we didn't get everything we wanted? We're settling for half? So maybe it's not the optimum solution. It's a good solution. And compromise, sometimes we need to do that. Or we can go in the competing model, up in there in the top left. So competing, focus on what you're getting from the perspective of acceptance. So in that competing model, you see on the goal is high up here. In the relationship on the bottom is low. So the goal is high and the relationship goal is low. And that's where we're competing. This is where I win, you lose. We're competitive. That's what I used to do in my work. This competing model. So then we can move down to the bottom where we can avoid. There's a lot of people just want to, I want to avoid conflict. I don't want to talk about it. No, I want to avoid it because I don't want to get hurt. We don't want to poke the bear, right? Because we can make it worse. So we don't want to talk about the conflict. So we avoid it. We step back from the conflict. Or we can be accommodating where, you take the lemon. You know what, honey, you have the lemon, right? Is that nice? Yeah, it's nice. But what happens if you're always accommodating?
You feel like a doormat.
After a while, can it become, I'm always the one giving in? And we talked to couples like, I'm always the one have to give in, or I'm the one have to say, so you're always accommodating. So again, you start to feel like you're being used or not treated.
And you build up bitterness.
But in some cases, is it good to accommodate? If it's not, yeah, it's good. Compromising is good. So it's always a blend of these types of solutions. But what's the best solution? Everybody get it? High relationship, high goal, right? So you both get what you want, and the relationship still is intact. And that's where we talk collaboration. That's the where we want to get into collaboration. So to get to collaboration, what do we have to do? We have to dialogue. We have to talk about the problem. So if somebody is here wants to be a good coach, what would the question you need to ask me? Marlon, ask me a question. Pardon me?
Why do you want the lemon?
That's a great question. Thank you. Why do you want the lemon? Nobody asked us, so you guys weren't helping us before. So thank you. So why do I every morning, ever since I came back from the Nedley program, every morning I have a squeezed lemon and a glass of water with 2 tablespoons of flax and a teaspoon of psyllium husk, because for my mental health and for my bowel health, it's a thing that I've done ever since, and it keeps me healthy and keeps me going. So it's a really healthy thing. So that's why it's so important to me. So now what would be the next question?
Why do I want the lemon? Well, I just have had a craving for these lemon cranberry muffins. Yeah. And what I really wanted was just...
So that's the next question. How do you make cranberry muffins? What do you need? What? The rind. You need the rind.
The zest. That's
So
right.
what do I need? We both can win? We both can have what we want 100%? That's collaboration. And this is an easy example, but it's to show sometimes we settle for 50-50 too soon. Sometimes we accommodate. Sometimes we go into these avoiding, or we compete because we're afraid about the conflict. But if we can learn to dialogue, which is in that center of that house, when we start dialoguing the problem and really seek to understand and be understood. So tell me more. Why was important to the lemon? And we go from that positional bargaining, from that win-lose, to now, how do we both win? And what do we really want to win? We want to win the relationship. Is it really, if I win what I want to have and have it my way, and I break my spouse's heart in the process, or the other person's, I'm losing the relationship, but I'm winning the goal. We want to win the goal and win the relationship is the ideal, right?
It's so true. And when we're parenting, usually we're very goal-oriented rather than relational. And in our relationships, the same. Mm-hmm. Yes. So studies show that the collaborative conflict management style has the highest correlation with both marital satisfaction and individual satisfaction with conflict management in a marriage. In contrast, when one or both spouses use the competitive conflict management style, the lowest marital satisfaction was related. So do we compete against each other? We do in our own ways, and it all looks different in every marriage and how we compete. Yeah. So seek first to understand. Oh.
I'm skipping ahead. We're running behind.
Okay.
There's going to be a mutiny soon.
Pride leads to conflict. Those who take advice are wise.
So what leads to conflict?
Pride.
Pride.
Yes.
Self-focus.
That's
love
right.
is not self-seeking.
That
love is
I'm
not proud.
right.
Love is not boastful. 1
Mhm.
Corinthians 13 that we talked about earlier.
That's right. Okay. If pride and selfish were laid aside, 5 minutes would remove most difficulties, most conflicts that we won't let go. Yeah.
Don't let go of the pride. Philippians 2, verses 2 to 4. Then make me truly happy by agreeing wholeheartedly with each other, loving one another, and working together with one mind and one purpose. Don't be selfish. Don't try to impress others. Be humble, thinking of others as better than yourselves. Don't look out only for your own interests, as shifting from your own interest to the other person's interests, but take an interest in others too. Wouldn't this help resolve most perpetual problems? Secret to successful conflict management is maintaining that positive ratio. 5 to 1. So 5 positive to 1 negative. And how do we maintain positivity in our fights or our conflicts?
Well, we be willing to set pride aside and give an apology for, own up to our 100%. Yeah.
Yes, we smile. Just show that we're still not shut down or we're not angry, right? Our nonverbal communication, just, hey, it's okay.
Or it's just a touch. If we can't smile, then maybe just a touch of
reassurance.
reassurance.
Yeah.
And then to empathize. Empathize is so important. We can understand how their perspective and how they're seeing the situation.
Validating something the partner said. Hey, you know what? I really see your point on that. Even though I don't necessarily agree with it, but I can see from their perspective. And okay, I can see it, I can agree on that point. But, so we have something to validate them.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So emphasizing what you have in common. So a lot of times we will hear couples dialoguing in our coaching sessions. And in the end, they're saying the same thing. So our job is to validate and summarize what they're saying and say, you know what? You're saying the same thing. You're saying this and you're saying this. And they're like, yeah, I guess so. And then it just puts them at ease. Okay, we can see it now.
Owning responsibility for your part. We've said this, how many times have we said this over the seminar? Taking 100% responsibility. You see the theme is over and over. Taking responsibility for our part.
And then really point out what both of you do right.
Or sometimes, in our case, I use a little bit of humor. Use it only when you're in a right space, because sometimes the humor can come as sarcasm and can blow up in your face. But
it can seem contemptuous.
Yeah, so be careful with that. But it can be
you're
a
not
source.
taking the situation seriously.
Yeah, so we can be, we're in a conflict, and I can just come up and lick my wife's face, and she's something to, what are you doing? Like just something to break, just to break the record.
Please, I'm not the only one.
There we go.
So we want you to remember that conflict is inevitable, but combat is optional. Yeah.
You choose.
You choose.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Let's take your better way to fight handout.
So we'll just kind of review with you and it's a tool that you guys can use. That do you guys have one? I think you guys. Yeah, we have some more right here. Doreen, you can just we'll just explain it to you so that you guys can, it's just a tool to have a better fight. And this is actually kind of the latest, newest research from the Gottmans that we just printed off. It's kind of and gives you kind of again, it's a formula. It's all a math formula so that we can actually have a way that we know how we can, a better way to fight. One for each, yeah.
So this is giving you tips on how to make your conflicts successful and to learn more about each other and to grow out of it before the conflict, during the conflict, and after. So before a difficult conversation, it's saying to use a soft startup. So check your tone of voice. For me, tone of voice was always a harsh startup. Always. So learning to use a gentle tone of voice. Because what does the Bible say? Soft answer turns away wrath. It turns away anger.
Anybody else need
Yes.
one? Okay.
And this is a good formula to remember. So when we were talking about defensiveness, there was a formula expressing how I feel rather than using you statements. So if I said, you always hurt me, whenever you leave, the garbage in the middle of the floor, it hurts my heart because every week you do the same thing. You leave it in the middle of the floor, I have to trip over it until you get it out of the house.
Exactly in the middle was kind of off.
What I need is for you to take the garbage out. Don't just take it out of the garbage can. I need you to just take it out the door, right? So I'm expressing, but what am I using? You, and has a harsh tone of voice, don't I? So I'm saying some of the words correctly and some of them I'm not.
And this is kind of the formula we used last night, right? We talked about harsh startup. So again, it's just re-emphasizing. So when we're before the fight, use that softened startup. And the formula, I feel about I need. And I guess that's that formula that is very successful. And then we can always add in, number 4 is I appreciate.
Yes. So remember, I feel, I need. If you just remember those 2 things and then add appreciate in there, it will be really easy to remember. On the back side of that page, it says during a conflict. It says adopt a team mentality. Think how you're both on the same team and you're both wanting to resolve the conflict or manage it. So when you're fighting against each other, you usually don't reach a common goal, do you? But when you're on the same team and you're shifting to what their perspective is, and then you're sharing your perspective, it's like you're just kicking the ball back and forth, a soccer ball between you, rather than kicking it at each other. So learning to just toss it back and forth rather than kicking it at each other. That is that team mentality. So on the right in that pink square, it says, remind yourself during a conflict. Number 1, when you want to blame, remember that you and your partner are on the same team. Number 2, rather than assuming negative intentions, which we always do, don't we? Practice open and non-judgmental dialogue. Number 3, actively listen to your partner's perspective, validate their feelings, and express empathy. That's hard to do when you first start out because you don't feel too empathetic, do you? Because you're hurting. You're feeling like they're not seeing your perspective. But having that dialogue and understanding why this part of the conflict is so important to him, and then I'm expressing why it's so important to me, we usually don't have that conversation, and sometimes that's all it takes to really solve the problem if it's solvable.
And last night we talked about flooding. Does anybody remember what flooding is? When your heart rate goes above 95 or 100 beats per minute, and if you're athletic, maybe 80 beats per minute, and the cortisol, the adrenaline comes in there, and your frontal lobe is kind of washed with all these hormones, and we don't necessarily, our reasoning, our decision making, and we become more irrational. So it's really not a good time to discuss. So if we feel that, so if I feel my blood pressure going up, if I feel my heart rate going up, if I feel maybe my palms are getting a little sweaty and I feel a little flush in the face and I can feel my emotions, this is where we pause, we halt and take a break. And this, otherwise I'm going to lead into what? That flooding can turn into stonewalling, right? So then if I stonewall, then I'm going to withdraw. And what it's going to make her feel is she's the pursuer and I'm the withdrawer. She's going to feel like I want to talk. I want to solve this problem. Don't let don't let the night go down on your anger, right?
It's so true. And we usually think that the pursuer hurts the most, right? So if I'm pursuing and I'm being critical and judgmental, usually we think, well, that person hurts the other person the most. But actually, when we withdraw and we stop speaking, it hurts just as much. And we don't stop and think about, we always think we're better for withdrawing, but it actually hurts the person just as much as if angry words were being spoken.
So if we can feel these emotions coming up and we feel like we're going to get into you're going to escalate the issue, this is where communication, that I need a break, honey. You know what? I'm feeling a little flooded right now. I'm feeling like my emotions are just a little bit high. And I really want to talk this. I think it's important that they talk about this problem. But right now, I don't think it's a good time. So can we take, a 30-minute break? I'm just going to go for a walk around the field and I just need to have some fresh air and I just need to soothe myself. And I would like to come back and talk about it in about 30 minutes. Are you okay with that?
Sure. Where do you want to meet?
Yeah, we can meet back here.
Okay.
So what I used to do is I would just leave. So how does she think she feels? Abandoned, rejected, absolutely. And because I wouldn't say I was shut down so far that I didn't know what I was, what happens when that flooding happens? We go into the fight, flight, or freeze, right? We have one of those options. So she would be the fighter, and I would go into this, freeze, or then eventually that maybe just flight, right? We leave the conversation. So if I just leave the room, so this is where it's important to communicate. Hey, you know what? This is what I'm feeling. Can we just take a break? And maybe it's an hour, maybe it's 2 hours. One night Doreen said, you know what? Depending on the problem and how the emotions are, maybe the next day. Yes, I don't want to talk about it tonight. It's getting late, and the halt. If you're hungry, if you're angry, and what is it? And you're lonely and tired. If you're any of those things, halt. Don't talk about the problem because you're just going to make it worse. So that's just communicate. But you make sure if you're going to take a halt, communicate it. Don't just do it. Number 2, practice doing an activity that calms you down for at least 20 minutes. This could be something like reading a book, going for a walk, listening to some calming music, meditating on the Word of God, whatever it is for you that's going to bring that down. And number 3, then when you feel calmed, communicate you're ready to rejoin the conversation. So in 20 minutes or half an hour, if I'm still feeling calm, you know what? Can we just wait till tomorrow? But agree to a time so the other person's not left hanging. So the pursuer is not like, we're never going to resolve this, right? The next page.
Yes, so give and receive repair attempts. So repair attempts are the secret weapon of happy couples, happy relationships. So no matter how much you fight, Gottman said the repair attempts were the key to staying in the relationship and having happier relationships. So if you're in the middle of an argument and you can just suddenly say, I didn't realize you felt that way about that. That is a lifeline that the person is putting out there, and it's a repair attempt. So what can you say back to that? You could say, well, I just need this to be a little calmer right now. And can I take that back?
I use that one a lot.
Yeah, I need your support right now. Or let me try this again and restate it. Or I'm sorry, or I messed up. So there's lots of little things that you can say that will help kind of diffuse the tension.
Or like Paul, he licks his wife. So
yeah, licks her cheek.
So does anybody have a repair attempt that they do, they want to share? Like what do you do when you're in the middle of a conflict that helps de-escalate it? Does anybody have a little, yes, Steve?
Cry.
You cry. Okay, that can create, yes, Paul?
A lot of times, Joe will say, hey, I'm not the enemy, or we'll be like, we're on the same team. Because a lot of times when you're getting into a conflict that's being elevated,
Yes.
it's usually about a situation that's with us anyway. It's not between us, it's because of the situation.
Sure.
And so then it's just a recheck, it's like, yeah, okay, we're on the same team. Because sometimes you get ramped up on things, about a situation, and then you forget that, like, just say, look at me, I'm not the enemy. So,
I like that, and I just want to add to that. What if the problem is between the two of you? Can you still be on the same team?
yeah, we're still on the same.
Exactly. So it doesn't matter what the problem is outside or is between us. We always need to recognize we're on the same team.
Because what is
The
it?
problem is the enemy.
Yeah, and that's what we'll say, it's not flesh and blood.
Okay.
And that's what I say a lot with, amongst ourselves, is it's not the person you're upset with, it's the situation. Like, you don't hate the person, you hate the situation.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
No, thank you for sharing.
Any other repair attempts? Any of you do?
I think I saw another hand. Yes.
We use pray because sometimes when we're praying, some of the stuff that we might be feeling will come out in our conversation
Sure.
to God and help the other person.
Stop and pray. Yeah.
I was just gonna say, I meet with this missionary,
Yeah.
and everything, and anyways, my friend there was with us, which he is every week, and he was having a conflict with his wife, and everything, and I guess it sounded pretty serious. And then I noticed sometime later, everything seemed to be all right, so I asked him.
Okay.
And he said, I went to my wife and I apologized, and that was the end of it.
Apologizing, letting go of the pride, being humble, and coming, you know what? I was wrong.
Yeah.
That can deflate right there. It's a good repair attempt. Thank you.
So repair attempts, they are, I guess you could say, the superpower of your relationships. They're the thing that's going to draw you together. And acknowledge, at the very bottom of that page, acknowledge underlying dreams. So many times when there's conflict, there's an unspoken dream, or even an unspoken expectation that wasn't spoken about. So having the conversation around that and trying to discover what the dream was. So
Okay.
it could be as small as, I was just hoping to have some time together this week, but because it didn't happen, it made me upset. And then I lashed out at you, right? So what was the underlying dream? Connection. That's what the underlying dream was.
So we turn the page over now again. And it's after a difficult situation or a conversation. So why is it important to talk about the problem or the conflict afterwards? Because we want to rewire the brain. And when we process the difficult situation, we now have the opportunity to sit back, reevaluate it, process it. Where did we go wrong? What can we do right next time? And if we don't do that, we're just going to make the same mistake next time. So we want to rewire the brain so that we can actually respond in a new way next time and continue to neuroscience says we can rewire the brain. The neuroplasticity is so powerful. We're not stuck with the same brain. We can rewire the brain the way we think and what we do. So we have the opportunity to change our behaviors and habits. We're not stuck responding the way we have and reacting the same way we've done for years, 24 years.
It's so true. In this process, like I talked about earlier, you're taking the file, that conflict, out of the non-conscious brain where you've stored it because you don't want to deal with it, right? You just want to sweep it under the carpet, but you're bringing it to the consciousness and you're starting to work on it and rewrite the story about that and re-dialoguing. And you're trying to figure out what to do next time so it doesn't happen again. And if it does happen again, you've talked about it and you know what you need to do and you start perfecting it each time.
So the 3 steps to processing the argument is 1, share what you felt. And it's okay to share your feelings with each other. It's good to share that emotion. I really felt unloved when we were having our difficult conversation. And when you use that harsh tone towards me, it just felt like you really didn't care or love me. I was actually fearful that, maybe, you're thinking of ending it or walking. I had that fear. So I just felt fearful.
And I just felt overwhelmed of the future and what it was going to look like. Because it felt like we weren't working towards a plan.
Mm-hmm. So we talk about loving with all our hearts. What builds a love connection? What builds an emotional connection with each other? Trust. Sharing your feelings with each other. We have a hard time with it, especially us men. If I don't share my emotions, and never talk about emotions, we talk from the intellect, talk about the weather, or I think, this is what I thought about it. This is what we talked from that logic, but it was like, you know what, this is how I felt. And when we know how we feel, that's what builds a heart-to-heart relationship. Now I know how she felt. She knows how I felt. And then when we're in a positive perspective, we can care about that. You know what, I'm really sorry that you felt overwhelmed. I didn't realize that. I can see what I said and the way I acted. And the problem is, I can see how you could feel overwhelmed. And how can we solve this problem together? What can we do so that you don't feel overwhelmed next time? What can we do next time, right?
So then you have a conversation. This is what I really needed.
That's what I need. I think we're probably jumping ahead here, Ron.
Yes.
Number 2 is discuss and validate both the subjective realities. Validation responses. Like, sounds like this. I can understand how you felt. Oh, I guess we just did that. It sounds like you were very upset and hurt by what I said. So validation just is reflecting and reframing what they said in your own words and acknowledging you heard them and understand them.
Have you ever been in a conflict and the other person just sits there and listens and you can see they're upset, but no validation comes out of their mouth? It's like they're shut down. And so many people talk about how hurtful that feels. So being able to, instead of just freezing because you're flooding, to be able to just say a word of validation, something, just to say some kind of validating response is better than none.
And then the very last page is number 3. And I think we've said that you probably have this now rememorized. Accept responsibility. Take 100% responsibility for your part. Stop blaming and take accountability. And, you know, we take responsibility. Wake up in the morning, okay, how can I make my marriage better today? What can I do to love my wife more? To show her that she feels loved to me. And at the end of the day, ask your child or your spouse, honey, did you feel loved by me today?
You know, I did. So now I'm gonna validate how I felt loved. I'm not just gonna stay there in that moment of, yes, I did. So I'm gonna say, you know what? You took the time to help me out. You sent off a few of our emails, you know, all that admin work we have a hard time getting to in our ministry. You really helped out with that. And that really makes me feel loved when you share the responsibility with me in that way, the administrative responsibility.
So just taking that 15 minutes to take those emails,
yes.
send them out for you.
A huge stress relief. Thank you.
You're welcome. So taking that time and asking those questions, but sometimes she may say no. So that's where the emotional intelligence and the emotional regulation, just don't react. What do you mean you didn't feel loved by me today? You know, we reacted, okay, so what did I do or didn't do that you didn't feel loved by me today?
You know, I know that you said you were tired and you were just done after our coaching sessions, and because we hadn't been getting much sleep.
Yes.
But
I just went to bed.
yeah,
Didn't help you? Okay.
Yeah, I'm tired too, and I get it.
Okay.
But I feel so accountable to these couples that God has put them in our life, and we need to show up for them and be there and be consistent. So for me, just being that team player would be very helpful.
Okay, I understand.
That's a real life
Yeah,
one. That was a spur of the moment one.
That was this last week, so we're real. We don't pretend we have it all together. That's why it's so important, repair attempts. It's not the problems, it's not the conflict, it's about the repair attempts and working through it and doing redos. That's the key, right? Is to actually continue to, so that we don't build up the bitterness, we don't build up the resentment, and we don't start disconnecting. We stay connected even in it and maintain the positivity in the conflict.
So we went on to have a conversation about, okay, how can we make this work? What do you need? And actually he said, I can see that you need me to do this and you need me to do this. And I said, yes, I do. No matter how tired we are, God will give us the strength. We will be able to do this. So he knows. It's just sometimes, and I know, sometimes we just don't do it, right? Yeah.
So we're going to take the last 10 minutes just to share what the last topic on your sheet that was advertised to make sure we cover this. And I think it's about creating love habits, rituals of connection. And these are things now we're going to move into the physical or the action or the strength And we're going to talk about, so you have two, you have two sheets.
Yeah, you have a handout, Creating Love
Let's go to the other
Habits.
one
It's
first,
a
honey.
small...
This one first?
Oh, you want to do the other one?
And then we can, so we kind of help them understand what it is.
Okay. All right. 7 hours to a better relationship. This one. So 7 hours a week to a better relationship.
A week, not a day. I heard 7 hours. No,
That's
we're gonna
an
break it up
hour
for
a
you.
day.
Do you know that scientists is shown now is that, how many minutes of exercise do you need a week? 150 minutes per week to be minimum, right? For exercise to maintain health. But the thing is, you don't have to do it all in one time. You don't have to go play hockey for, although that would be fun. It is fun. But we can break it up. We can do 5 minutes in the morning. It can even be cumulative during the day. We can do 5 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in lunchtime, we can do 10 minutes in the evening. We get our 30 minutes in it, right? So same with relationships.
Yes.
We don't want to overwhelm you to have 7 hours in a day to spend with her. No. We can actually develop the relationship in small bites. And this is what...
That's right. So we're just going to summarize this handout. So one of the ways to do this is your partings when you leave each other. So it's just 2 minutes a day. And that's it. So figure out what that's going to look like for you.
Does that sound better, 2 minutes instead of 7 hours? We should have started there, right? 2 minutes.
Yeah, just 2 minutes.
And reunions, that when we come back together after a long day, it's like when you see your partner again at the end of the day, you share a hug, a kiss, 6-second kiss. This is scientists. This is the best related science. Has to be 6 seconds or it doesn't work. It's math. It's important. Yeah, so if you're just giving a peck on the cheek, it doesn't count. It doesn't build connection. There has to be an exchange of saliva. No, there has to be.
There is science to that, but
there is. We won't get into that today. That's another story. But the 6 seconds it takes to release the oxytocin and build a connection. And guess how long you have to hug for?
20 seconds.
20 seconds. Why? Because it takes that long to release the oxytocin and the hormones. If we just do a hug, hey, see you, honey, but
into a hug.
I'm gone. It's like there's no connection.
Fly by, fast food.
Yeah, we're used to fast food and fast love, right?
Yeah, we had a couple that we were working with last year. And we got onto the Zoom call and I said, how's it going this week? He said, well, we tried out the 6-minute kiss. She only lasted for 2 minutes. I'm like, no, 6-second kiss. She said, oh. She said, I did pretty good then.
Yeah. So it's just slow down. Just when you hug somebody, can you feel a side hug or a little bit, kind of a little pat or embrace? You can tell the difference between a real hug and an unreal hug. Just take the time to give something that you look forward to coming home for.
Yes, and then next is appreciation and admiration, 5 times a day. So having a conversation to just connect and express a trait in your loved one that you admire. And this primes your mind to see the positive traits of your partner instead of focusing on the negative. So it's super important to create this habit because it's one of the antidotes, right, for those 4 horsemen. So just 5 minutes a day.
And the next one is sex. Make sure to embrace affection. Affection. Make sure to embrace each other before falling asleep and cuddle or a goodnight kiss. And think of these moments of affection. So, a lot of times we don't have that time for affection. And sometimes, I use the word, sometimes when my wife gives me affection, my brain may go to something. And she's saying, I just want safe affection. What do you mean safe? Exactly, safe? You gotta be kidding me. Safe touch? I was offended. Actually, we were on a cruise last February. We were in the middle of a marriage cruise. We were on this, the Love Boat.
Oh, you know all the dirt on us now.
And we were talking, and one of the topics was, it was about sex. Can we say that in here? Am I allowed to say that? Okay, sex.
Okay, let's say physical intimacy. Probably makes people feel more comfortable.
Yeah, we're in a church and the saints here, so we don't want to talk about, So we were talking about this conversation about physical intimacy, and we got into, and they were talking about having a conversation about physical intimacy. And it's awkward. We don't do it. We don't talk about what we like and not like and have these conversations. So we were talking about this over a romantic 7-course meal in the ship, right? And so I'm asking the question, and she's asking, so, anyways, and I was talking, and I was quoting scripture. So, what is the greatest romantic chapter in the Bible? Song of Songs, Songs of Solomon. Well, we go to the first chapter is like the Shulamite dance. So I said that. So hey, that would be great, a Shulamite dance, right? It's biblical, right? So she took offense.
He's been asking for the Shulamite dance for a number of years, and I said, I'm not a dancer. So I finally said, what is the Shulamite dance? Like, do you want me to go out and take pole dancing lessons? I was getting frosted, right? I just...
The Caribbean air all of a sudden became very cool. And we took a few hours to regain and do the repair attempt and start having this conversation. So we actually started talking. She asked me, what does that look like?
Yeah, what does it look like?
And I just said, just playfulness and fun, just to be, just have playfulness. Yeah,
well, I want that too. Like, why didn't you tell me this years ago?
I did. I told you the Shulamite dance.
Yes. I don't know what that looks like in your mind. I'm picturing what it looks like in your mind. Doesn't look like what I want it to look like.
So there's that miscommunication, and and then what she said at the conversation in the meal, just go back a second, that night, what caused a little bit of the heat, where I became to get a little frosted, is that she said, well, I just want safe touch. So you said, I'm not safe? What do you mean he's not safe? What do you think So I was offended, right? So we escalated. So yeah, the rest of the meal was kind of this beautiful romantic cruise. We're like, silent treatment, right?
Yes.
We flooded. So
but we had a conversation. We followed this sheet.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about how it made us feel. And then we were asking questions about each other's perspective. And that's where the aha moment came.
So when we're talking about affection,
we want the same thing. And here I've been so frustrated with this joking comment, and he knows it bothers me, but he would continue to say it because it was such a desire for him, right? And I'm like, okay. So I finally asked the question, what does that look like?
And repair attempts are really good. Okay, next, we're going to move on. Prayer and devotions. 1 hour per week. Just 10 minutes a day. Take that time to connect, pray together. Read the Word of God together. Take that time to have a devotion together. Just to stay connected. The spiritual intimacy is shown to be one of the greatest indicators of marital satisfaction, according to the National Institutes of Health.
It is.
This is because you're on the same purpose. You have the same meaning, the same faith. It builds connection.
Date night. How many of you take time to have a weekly date? Doesn't have to mean going out. It can be in your home. It could be just playing a game together. It could be watching a movie with popcorn. Maybe you want to find a Christian movie to watch. It could be going out for dinner. Once a month, maybe that's your splurge.
Could be a Shulamite dance.
Could be a Shulamite dance, right? So whatever that looks like, coveting that 2 hour time.
We have a one day, a 24-hour period where God covenants a relationship with you. And he wrote it in stone. It's not flexible. Because the relationship and time is so important. And if this relationship, you know what happens? We put other priorities. And we don't take the time to connect. Just like with God, we don't necessarily take the time to connect with God. We make other priorities. We let the relationship slide because all my work and obligations, all these things, and they take up our time, and we have no time for connection. Lastly,
State of the Union meeting. We like to call it a unity meeting. And we like to have ours on Monday because one of the problems we had is I felt like he was secret and wasn't honest with me. Because I told the story of how at 4 o'clock he'd call me and say, oh, I'm not coming home, I have a hockey game. And I felt like he was trying to withhold, I don't know, information. I don't know if he was fearful to tell me. I just couldn't figure it out. So having on Sundays, reviewing our schedule for the week, what's his schedule, what's mine, what do we have going on? If you're a family, what do you have going on with the kids? and talking about it, figuring out what you can expect the week to look like. And one more important thing is to schedule in physical intimacy time, schedule in date night. So that's so important for men. You know, for women, we talk about libido boosters and busters and things like that, but many times for women, libido boosters is that they're tired. They don't feel they're being busters, is they feel like they're tired. They feel like they're not being turned towards. Yeah. So they get discouraged.
I didn't take out the garbage.
Yeah, exactly. It could be as a repetitive problem of not doing what you were hoping they would do, right? Not meeting your needs, not taking time to connect. And then for women, if there's no emotional connection, that's kind of the last thing they want to take part in. So we have we talk about this in more detail, but this is a part of that unity meeting so that husbands and wives have something to look forward to. They know they're going to have connection time. The wives are seeing, okay, we have connection time scheduled every day with each other, and that's what they need, so that by the time you get to that date night, if the date night is, we try not to connect date night with physical intimacy because we don't want every date night to be that. Right? Or maybe clear, one week it is connected to it, but the next week it isn't, right? So separating it so that the women feel like, okay, we can just have some fun. And we know it's not going to lead to this, right, in the end, because we just want that real deep, heartfelt connection that doesn't always end up, that way.
One of the couples we were coaching is a retired couple, so I don't know if they're late 60s, 70s, and we went through this with them, and she actually is very efficient. She actually took this and made it into a spreadsheet. And she checked off every one of these things every day. And as they were doing that, she had to go into town one day. And her husband came to the door and gave her a 6-second kiss and gave her a hug and said, I'm going to miss you, have a safe... She said she got so flustered and she forgot her purse and her wallet. She drove to town, she got to town, she didn't have anything with her. It was so amazing. She said it was so flustered. And I came home and then, she said that we made love in the first time, and how many, it was just like, it changed a 6-second kiss and making the effort to make that time, because now our actions can actually change our thoughts and it can change our heart. So they all interact, right? So the very act of doing something, it just changed the trajectory of the relationship, and it was really cute that she got so flustered.
It is. So we always encourage the wives to make sure the husbands have something to look forward to, right? And we encourage the husbands to make sure the wives have something to look forward to, which is that emotional connection. Spending the time to connect heart to heart. Because then when you come together and you have that special time of physical intimacy, you're emotionally so connected. It's something beautiful.
The last sheet, and then the last 5 minutes we have together, it's called Creating Love Habits. And then, so you have...
It's this one right here.
Honey, you have 2 minutes to explain that.
2 minutes.
Then we have a book giveaway.
Yes, we do.
So I know that you're passionate about this, so you explain it in 2 minutes or less.
Yes. So it's creating these regular positive interactions where we're taking time out from the logistics of the day and setting problems aside, and we're planning these rituals of connection. So in the Jewish culture, it's today even filled with rituals of connection. And it's their faith, right? Their connection to their God. So in our relationships as well, it should be full and rich with symbols and rituals of connection with one another. So we have small daily rituals of connection or love habits that we want to create, weekly, medium kind of size love habits, and then large ones that often happen seasonally or quarterly throughout the year. So making sure that these happen, and they include activities that you've enjoyed in the past or new ones you want to experience, and figuring out what that looks like. Now, I know many of you probably already have these rituals. So one of our rituals of connection was Marlon making breakfast Sunday mornings, ever since the kids were a baby. So as soon as they were born, we started this. He would make waffles. He has this amazing whole grain waffle recipe that he would make. And that was kind of our routine, or we would have these whole grain pancakes, sometimes, whatever it was. But breakfast was his thing and still is. I don't even, now their kids are gone, he still carries that on. Friday evenings, we would, as the sun set, we would light a candle for the kids so that they got to know, okay, when the candle's lit, this is our special time with God and as a family. It's a time out, a 24-hour period. So we have these little rituals of connection. So figuring out those are the weekly ones. We also had daily, where when we put our kids to bed, we would ask them, did you feel loved by mommy today? Did you feel loved by daddy today? And that was kind of our ritual of connection. And if they didn't, or they might say, I felt loved by you, but I didn't feel loved by my brother or my sister. So it was a time where they could share their heart. We could empathize and validate how they were feeling, and then figure out what they needed, and then try to put that into action. So those are small daily. So on that 7 hours to a better relationship, there's lots of daily love habits to start adopting and start putting into practice to create connection with one another. We've already talked about examples of weekly love habits. It might be planning some fun activity outdoors, whatever it may be. And then the seasonal ones, which is maybe attending a marriage weekend. In May, we are going to be at the Silver Hills Guest House, and we're doing a weekend marriage retreat where we're going to cover this information and
but more work activities to actually work through
Yeah,
and work
so
through
we're going
forgiveness.
to take time to actually do the work because you're away from your home, you're taking the time to do it. So that's an example of something you're going to do to enrich your relationship. So take the time to set time aside. We always encourage couples daily, even if it's just 20 minutes, to connect and work on some of these handouts and start having a dialogue. How can we add more connection time in? What is that going to look like?
Okay, that was 3 minutes.
Okay.
So now we only have 1 minute left. So in 1 minute, can anybody share, or is there a few people want to share their ritual of connection that they do? Does anybody have a ritual of connection or a love habit that they do that they want to share? Oh, yes.
We started sitting at the table with my daughter, and we talk about what we're grateful for the day, just in that day, what kind of things made us happy or feel grateful.
Thank you. And because you had the courage to speak, we're going to give you the book from the latest book from John Gottman and Julie Gottman on how to fight right. It's based on the research that we shared here this afternoon. You're
Now,
welcome.
as we're ending, we like feedback. And the kind of feedback we like to hear is what your takeaway was.
Just remember
for
this
you-
gentle startup.
For you, for the weekend, what was your takeaway? What resonated with you? What are you going to start with? To restore relationships or in your relationship, just what was your takeaway for the weekend?
I liked the how to fight. I actually asked, kind of joking but kind of serious, can we bring this into our next conflict? Just because I do feel we go into the fight or flight and then we're fighting about fighting instead of what the real problem is. So if we can slow down and come to those sheets and practice it in a conflict and see how it works that way.
Thank you.
Who else would like to share their takeaway for the weekend?
What they're going to go home tonight, they're going to say, this is what we're doing.
To dialogue more, because in our history it created a dynamic of, for me, shutting down and not sharing because it didn't feel safe. And that has changed, so I want to dialogue more and get out of that behavior that kind of was created in the past.
Yes, thanks. Dialogue.
I would say, well, there's lots of things that I've been blessed by, so thank you. And I would say that just trying to find out, what does Michelle need, So a lot of the issues that come up, whether it's conflict or whatever, is not identifying an unmet need. So.
Well said.
And for me, I think the whole taking 100% responsibility for our own instead of the blame, I think it was, really huge. And also the criticize and just to try to find other ways of saying it, like with the I, like this is what I need, this is how I feel, versus just blaming it on the other person.
Thank you. Oh, we have one back.
So I think for me, husband's at work now, so I'm grateful that he came this morning. But I think for me, it's just kind of being in the moment, being present. He comes home late at night, and so I'm busy with the kids and trying to wrap them up for bed and stuff, and just being, being there to greet. So I'm going to start with this 6 seconds, not minutes, of just kissing him, because his love language is touch, and I'm more quiet. I like quality time. So I'm going to try and work on that, yeah.
Excellent.
I really appreciated your openness of both of you in sharing your own personal story and struggles, and your transparency, your authenticity of, wow, to me it left, wow, with God, everything is possible.
Amen.
You folks are a miracle, and you've blessed us with your own miracle.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Pastor Royce, do you want to have prayer?
We're
over to you. No, you're 5 minutes over.
Can we invite you to stand and take part in a 6-second kiss or a 20-second hug?
If you're comfortable.
If you're comfortable.
If you haven't kissed for the last 2 years. Who wants to practice a 6-second kiss?
Did I say 6 minute? I hope it's 6 seconds. You can stay seated. Okay.
Okay, don't look at, yeah. And I'm glad you took the extra 30 seconds for that. 6 seconds, it didn't take long.
Well, I don't know if I've ever kissed in church before, but thank you so much for this time here with us. We are truly blessed. And I know that these sorts of conversations are not easy, and sometimes they stir up. You might feel like it stirs up more problems initially. And Michelle and I, we've had those experiences before. We're trying to solve problems. And it gets worse, before it gets better. But it's worth it, because as they said right near the beginning, maybe that was last night, but if you're willing to go through the conflict, if you're willing to have the dialogue, it will get better. So it's worth the work. Amen. And let's close with a prayer, and then there are refreshments afterwards, so please feel free to join us and visit some more. So, Father in heaven, we're grateful for this opportunity that we've had to learn about relationships, specifically the marriage relationship, but we recognize that there are so many principles that would not just transform our marriages, our relationship with our kids, perhaps our workplaces, but would even transform our church, Lord. And we want our homes and our church and just every significant relationship that we're a part of to be filled with love, to be filled with respect, to be a place where we can grow in your grace and share your love more abundantly with all those around us. I pray that you'd bless Marlon and Doreen in a special way. Thank you for bringing them here safely. Bless them and keep them safe as they travel. We praise God for the work that you've done in their lives to bring this restoration, this healing. Lord, they're on a journey. I pray that you continue to be with their family, continue to grow and heal whatever still needs to be healed, and bless their children and their whole family. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Am I still on? Can I offer a prayer as well for you, all the marriages here? And we've learned that there's 3 types of marriages. It's found in Revelation. There's marriages that are cold. There's marriages that are hot. And there's marriages that are lukewarm. And I'd like to propose to you that the Church of Laodicea has a lot of lukewarm marriages. There's a lot of roommates. And I want to pray for each level of marriage in this congregation. We both want to pray together. Let's bow our heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we just want to add to Pastor Royce's prayer, Lord, and thank him for his prayers. We also want to pray for each marriage here, Lord, that's represented here, that have been here Friday night, who are here this morning or this afternoon, for each marriage in this church, Lord. You know how hard it is. You know how hard the enemy is attacking marriages right now. We know, Lord, that this is a gift that you've given to us in the Garden of Eden, Lord. A gift for connection, something to create emotions, and something to just help each other and encourage each other and have that friendship and that playfulness, Lord, that you put us even in a beautiful garden. And we just thank you for this gift, Lord, and just help us to take back that gift and to go from surviving to thriving.
Heavenly Father, I too want to lift up the families that are represented here. Lord, it's not just marriages that are struggling, but it's families. It's parent-child relationships and all the different relationships that are in these families. So I just pray that as they take these principles home, that each family will put them into practice, that they will make it a goal to have heart connection with each other, to really discover and uncover what's driving the hurt and the pain that keeps going on in their marriage, in their relationships with their families. Put a hedge around them, dear Lord. Protect them from any influence of the enemy. And just continue to just speak to them. Help them to hear your guiding and leading. Help them to hold on to you and to continue to reach for forgiveness in their lives, just to break the stronghold of bitterness so that their relationships can grow. We pray this in your name. Amen.
And my key takeaway from this weekend, we've been doing Prescription for Loves across Canada for a while. I've never seen a pastor from the pulpit being so vulnerable. Praise God, you have an amazing pastor. So thank you. That was beautiful. That touched my heart. We'll see you downstairs for some refreshments.